Chapter 13, Humans and Demons. The disciples of the Dao academies as well as the youths from the large family clans watched intently. Almost all of them had to serve the military in the future. This was something unavoidable. Pig Demon. A muscular youth with a shield in his left hand and a huge axe in his right hand jumped onto the arena and stared at the Pig Demon on the opposite side of the arena. The Pig Demon stared at the human, revealing a mouth full of sharp teeth as it let out a low grunt before charging. Boom. The Pig Demon barged around with extremely fast speed. What speed? This speed matches those of the mortal shedding realm. The books are right. Even the most ordinary lesser demons have bodies that match a mortal shedding realm fighter. Many Dao Academy disciples' hearts tightened as they watched. This was already the most ordinary lesser demon. The youth Cang Yuan Tu retreated to the side just as his opponent was about to collide with him. With shield and axe in hand, he swung his axe to cleave at the Pig Demon's bottom. The Pig Demon had charged too quickly and was unable to change directions in time, but it raised its right arm and brushed past the shield with its right elbow. The youth, Cang Yuan Tu, was overwhelmed by the surge of strength and staggered 3 steps back. His cleave missed. The books say that demons have powerful bodies, but their combat skills are inferior to ours. It's true. Cang Yuan Tu thought, but they are even more savage. I can't make any mistakes. I have to find an opportunity to kill it in one fell swoop. Humph. The Pig Demon's eyes turned even crazier as it continued its fierce assault. The Pig Demon was incomparably savage in the arena. It was extremely strong, and it was incredibly fast as well. Even when it casually brushed against the human youth, he would be knocked backward by the strength behind the blow. But the human youth was tenacious and his footwork exquisite. He never fought the Pig Demon head-on, and his shield's defensive strength was high as well. He was able to completely block the Pig Demon's repeated charges in a very slippery manner. This junior of your Zhang family is really good at using his shield. He completely defended himself and didn't give the Pig Demon any chances. I wonder if this Pig Demon has a trick up its sleeve. The upper echelons of the 5 major family clans were also chatting. Suddenly, the Pig Demon's brandishing claws increased in speed. This surprised Cang Yuan Tu as his expression changed drastically. He immediately ducked to hide behind the shield. Bam! The claw slammed into the shield. Although the angle of the shield caused the Pig Demon to feel some discomfort, this blow still caused the shield to fly up. Cang Yuan Tu made use of the attack's momentum to fly backward and land outside the arena. As soon as he landed on the ground outside the arena, Cang Yuan Tu spat out a mouthful of blood, his face pale. How sinister. It actually hid its strength. Cang Yuan Tu stared at the Pig Demon on the stage. Count yourself lucky for escaping fast, said the Pig Demon in a deep voice. What? This Pig Demon actually hid a trick up its sleeves. It's terrifying how it schemed to use it at a critical moment. The disciples of the Dao Academy were somewhat nervous. Thankfully, the first person to fight Cang Yuan Tu was a cautious person and good at defending. If it were another Dao Academy disciple, they might have suffered terribly. It really hid something up its sleeves. The 5 family clans' upper echelons chatted casually. They had experience fighting demons on the battlefield, so they were acutely aware of how savage demons were. The scene in front of them was very mild to them. The imperial court official who was looking at the name list laughed loudly. Demons are sentient as well. They also scheme, so they are not to be underestimated. Alright, next up will be the Spring Rain Dao Academy's Xiahe song. The Pig Demon continued standing in the arena as he talked to the one-armed man in a deep voice. I won the first round. You can return to prison after winning 3 rounds, said the one-armed man. All right. The Pig Demon nodded, its eyes filled with fierceness. It would kill a human youth if it had the chance to. It wasn't simply because of the food and drink it could enjoy from killing a human youth, but to enact revenge on the humans because it was captured by them. As long as it could take revenge for being left with such an abject fate, it would naturally want to take revenge. The second youth on stage, Xiahe Song, used a saber. His saber arts were exquisite. His footwork was profound, preventing the pig demon from touching him at all. He eventually found an opportunity. Pfft. He slashed straight at the pig demon's body. After tearing through the thick layer of hair, his saber was firmly stuck in the pig demon's muscles. This caused Xia Song's expression to change drastically. Not good. He immediately abandoned his saber and retreated without any hesitation. However, the pig demon took the opportunity to fiercely slap him. Xia Song was struck, and the loud slap left the Dao Academy disciples worried. The upper echelons of the 5 great family clans, the prefectural magistrate, and the others were all very calm. This was really trivial. Xia Song immediately flew out of the arena as blood splattered across the ground. Thankfully, Xia Song wore a family heirloom protective armor. He was only heavily injured and didn't lose his life. He just needed a few months of recuperation to fully recover. It was truly fortunate. Next, Wind Center Dao Academy, Ruan Mi. Sharpshooter Ruan Mi, he instantly garnered the attention of many. Every sharpshooter was extremely important. Even Meng Chuan carefully watched because Kia was also a sharpshooter. Much could be referenced from Ruan Mi's battle with the demon. Ruan Mi was quite famous amongst the younger generation in East Com Prefecture. He was from an ordinary family clan, but becoming a sharpshooter made things different. He became one of the most influential disciples in Wind Center Dao Academy. He held a large bow with his long arms, and he immediately drew his bow and shot an arrow after leaping onto the arena. Swoosh. The arrow pierced through the air. It was fast. An archer going all out was extremely terrifying. The pig demon immediately howled as it charged forward. At the same time, it brandished its claws and sent the first arrow flying, its other claw protected its head. This was its vital point. But right after, a second arrow pierced through its thigh and remained stuck in its thigh. The normal blades of a marrow cleansing expert would have their might greatly reduced after tearing through its hide, but this arrow completely pierced through its thigh, affecting the pig demon's movements. Ruan Mi wore a cold expression as he moved, quickly shooting the third and fourth arrow in succession. Pft, pft, pft. The third and fourth arrows were all aimed at the legs. The pig demon's muscles and bones gripped the arrows, and there wasn't much blood. However, its speed halved. This made Ruan Mi a lot more relaxed. He quickly moved agilely around the edge of the arena while shooting out one arrow after another. Die. Die. The pig demon could vaguely sense that death was approaching. It began to grow even more frenzied as it drew closer to the human sharpshooter. However, its legs just couldn't be any faster. The short distance between them was like a massive chasm that could not be closed. The pig demon's body was hit by a total of 12 arrows as it howled and ran. It was until the 12th arrow that the pig demon's head its weakness was pierced through. This arrow finally caused the pig demon to collapse to the ground and convulse. It could no longer stand up. A demon's vitality is really strong, Ruan Mi muttered. Well done. Beautiful. There were cheers, the loudest coming from the Wind Center Dao Academy disciples. Take it away. The one-armed man by the side of the arena ordered his soldiers. Immediately, 2 soldiers walked up to the arena and dragged the pig demon's corpse away. Only its blood remained on the arena. No one cared about the death of a pig demon. The demons were invaders and massacred humans. Humans only wanted to protect their homes, but even so, large numbers of humans died for this endeavor. Half of those who served in the military died, and numerous people were crippled. From this, one could see the price humans had to pay for peace. Countless human commoners had been slaughtered. Archean Mountain established Jadasun palaces in every prefectural city and sent god fiends to preside over them to protect the commoners. God fiends watched over an area, eliminating all demons who dared to infiltrate human territory. This was the only way to stabilize the human race's numbers. The hatred humans had for demons was irreconcilable. Chapter 14, Meng Chuan's Turn. After the pig demon was killed, another jail wagon was pulled up. Inside it was an even larger wolf demon. The wolf demon was hunched slightly, its head touching the top of the jail wagon. It grabbed the metal railings with its claws and stared at the humans outside. Clank. The one-armed man opened the cage and calmly said to the wolf demon, "You have already been informed of the rules. You can head back alive after winning 3 consecutive rounds. You can also enjoy delicious food and wine. If you violate the rules, you will be hacked to death." "I know." The wolf demon growled hoarsely and entered the arena. It immediately saw the blood that was thick with a demonic aura. "It's from that stupid pig." Although low-level demons had their internal rivalry, it felt set over the death of its kind at this moment because it was very likely that it would die in this arena as well. But the truth was the wolf demon won 3 consecutive matches. Not only did it heavily injure a human youth, it even tore apart another human youth's arm. It was impossible to treat a severed arm. After the wolf demon was taken away, another demon took its place. Battles kept happening. The human youths and demons both wanted to kill each other. The disciples of the 8 major Dao academies were extremely solemn. Some were even extremely nervous because all of them had to head on stage. This was not a normal sparring match between fellow disciples, but a battle of life and death. Demons did not hold back. Lu Qiu also had her turn. She killed a cat demon, but she was forced to jump off the stage when facing a more ferocious leopard demon. 23 disciples from the Dao academies have had their turn, said clan leader Meng Yanping in a low voice. Dajiang, Meng Chuan's turn is coming. Yes. Meng Dajiang also glanced at Meng Chuan, who was far away from the disciples of Mirror Lake Dao Academy. Yes. It was almost Meng Chuan's turn. As the only marrow cleansing realm disciple of the 8 Dao academies to comprehend the secret technique, he was naturally placed last. Senior brother Meng, you have to be careful. Wan Meng's bloody chest was bandaged up. The demons are very cunning. I know. Meng Chuan nodded. Most of the 23 Dao Academy disciples who fought were very cautious. Only 6 of them were truly seriously injured, and their injuries were all treatable. Except one. His arm had been ripped off by the wolf demon. His name was Bai Fengqi. He came from one of the 5 God-fiend family clans, the Bai family. He kept crying the moment he jumped off the stage. His grandfather was present today as well. He immediately berated him angrily. Why are you crying? You clearly knew how powerful the wolf demon is, yet you were rash. Who can you blame? You lost an arm in a one-on-one battle while the demon was chained up. If you were on the battlefield, you would have lost your life. Cultivate well when you're back. Our family has single-armed sword techniques. Despite berating him angrily, his grandfather's eyes were slightly red. After all, this was his grandson, one that he had always been proud of. The Dao Academy disciples sympathized with Bai Fengqi. He had lost his arm at the age of 16. However, the deans, government officials, and the upper echelons of the 5 large family clans present were mostly calm. They had seen incidents far crueler than this. Archean Mountain came up with the demon-slaying meat because it didn't wish for human elites to die the moment they entered the battlefield. Therefore, they had to suffer in their youth and broaden their horizons. In the future, they would train harder and be more careful on the battlefield. 6 humans were heavily injured. One of them was crippled. 12 demons went on stage, but only 5 of them died in battle. Meng Chuan was very calm. He did not feel nervous or afraid. He had already seen how terrifying the demons were when he was 6. More than 100,000 people were slaughtered back then. If not for a god-fiend arriving, few humans would have survived. The body count would have doubled. The god-fiend alone had caused the demons to collapse and flee in panic. It also gave the humans who had scattered in all directions a chance to survive. Besides his parents risking their lives, Meng Chuan had survived because the god-fiend had joined the fray later. After experiencing all of that, the restricted one-on-one battles with the demons on the arena were very mild in comparison. The human youths could survive by simply jumping off the arena. Next. Mirror Lake Deo Academy, Meng Chuan, the official's voice spoke a few decibels louder. All of a sudden, everyone's gazes fell on Meng Chuan. Meng Chuan had been the topic of discussion in Eastcom Prefecture for the past few days. Everyone knew that Eastcom Prefecture had produced another genius who had a chance of becoming a god fiend. Be careful. Dean Geu instructed. Yes, Dean. Meng Chuan stood up and walked towards the arena. Chuan, show them what you got. Lu Qiu pumped her fists into the air from Blazing Sun Deo Academy's area. Watch me. Meng Chuan smiled. In the Yun family camp, Yun Fukin watched from afar. He smiled and said, Fuan, this Meng Chuan seems to have a good temperament. Unfortunately, he isn't fated with Xingping. Yes. Yun Fuan smiled obsequiously. However, his gaze towards Meng Chuan turned colder. The more outstanding Meng Chuan was, the more unhappy he felt. On the other hand, Yun Xingping was watching anxiously. She had been quite shocked by what she saw today. It was her first time seeing the demons of legend. They were ugly and savage. At the seat of honor, Jadasun Palace Lord sat there as his gaze landed on Meng Chuan. He smiled and said to his side, Yuan Zi, this Meng Chuan figured out the secret technique at 15. You can be considered as the number one person in the younger generation of Eastcom Prefecture, while he's second. Furthermore, being from the Meng family, Fairy Meng will definitely try her best to nurture him. His path will probably be easier than yours. The path of cultivation depends on oneself. I will enter Archean Mountain this year, said the thin youth, Mei Yuanzi. Besides, you have also given me several pointers over the past few days. It's just a few pointers. I have to remind you that you are considered the number one genius in Eastcom Prefecture, but you only have a 20 to 30% chance of entering Archean Mountain. Jadasun Palace Lord smiled. If there are more geniuses this year, your chances of entering Archean Mountain will be even lower. Yuan Zi, you have to make plans. What will you do if you fail? There's no need to think about that now. I'll decide when I fail, Mei Yuan Zi said. Jadasun Palace Lord didn't say anything else. Instead, he stared at the arena with interest. He was willing to give Mei Yuanzi pointers because he hoped that humanity would produce an additional god fiend. That meant additional combat strength for the humans. Clearly, he found Meng Chuan someone with potential as well. Meng Chuan had already walked onto the stage. Demon. Meng Chuan looked at the goat demon standing on the stage. The goat demon was tall and burly, its arms thick and strong. Its pair of curved horns were long and sharp, and its eyes glinted with green as it stared at Meng Chuan. Human, if you are afraid, hurry down, said the goat demon in a deep voice. The two opponents before you, including the sharpshooter, were so frightened that they jumped off the arena. A goat demon was considered one of the strongest demons amongst the 12. It was deliberately placed at the end for Meng Chuan to deal with. Afraid? Do you have what it takes? Meng Chuan stared at it, his gaze filling with intense killing intent. Chuaner's gaze. Meng Dejian watched from afar, but his heart skipped a beat. His son was usually friendly and amiable and had never exuded such murderous intent before. Ha ha ha, you aren't escaping? I like human punks with guts. As the goat demon spoke, it immediately rushed over at extreme speeds, producing many after-images. Meng Chuan glanced at it, but his heart and mind were fully focused on the battle. He was filled with endless killing intent towards these demons. Die. Coming close, the goat demon roared ferociously as it brandished its claws. Instantly, gray claw shadows streaked across the sky. Now. Meng Chuan's heart stirred. In an instant, his body, mind, and technique became one. The intense killing intent contained his accumulated hatred for the demons. It made his fusion of body and mind even more perfect, allowing him to utilize strength far greater than usual. Ancient god fiends had once said that humans had great potential. They could unleash incredible power at critical moments. When Meng Chuan fought demons, he delivered speed and strength far greater than it usually was during normal cultivation or in sparring matches at the Mirror Lake Dao Academy. Pfft. The saber flashed at incredibly fast speeds. It was a soul-stirring strike, one filled with killing intent. The goat demon's eyes widened. It instinctively felt death approaching and tried its best to block it, but it failed to touch the saber. The saber didn't travel a straight trajectory, but an ethereal curve. The saber easily passed its arms that were trying its best to fend off the attack and swept past its neck. Whoosh. Meng Chuan's saber had returned to its scabbard as though it had never moved. The only thing that changed was that he had moved 50 feet. The goat demon took a few steps forward before falling to the ground. At the same time, its head rolled to the side noisily as blood dyed the ground red. In just one slash, the goat demon was dead. Everyone had witnessed the strength of the goat demon before. It was extremely skilled in combat, and it was difficult for even mortal shedding experts to defeat it. Thus, it had easily won 2 consecutive battles. Yet, it had actually been killed by Meng Chuan with just one strike. Looking at the goat demon's corpse, Meng Chuan whispered, "You are the first demon I killed." Chapter 15, Hidden Demon Monarch Bloodline. Meng Chuan calmly stood in the arena as 2 soldiers dragged the goat demon's corpse down. A few soldiers simply cleaned the arena. According to the rules of the demon-slaying meet, a Dao Academy disciple could continue fighting against new demons in the arena as long as they won. The Jadasun Palace would arrange for stronger demons to fight them as long as they were capable enough. At this moment, another jail wagon was pulled up. Oh? Meng Chuan's pupils constricted. There was a very thin demon in the cell, but it had a huge build due to its big bones. Though it was sitting cross-legged in the cage, its body appeared massive. Its dark yellow eyes swept across the outside world, its body was covered with dried fur that alternated between black and yellow. Tiger demon? Meng Chuan was alarmed. It's a tiger demon. It's actually a tiger demon, the Dao Academy disciples exclaimed. Among the demons, there were many like pig demons and wolf demons. Most of them were ordinary and occasionally produced powerful demons. However, there were very few tiger demons, even the weaker ones were at the level of a greater demon. The official from the imperial court laughed loudly and said, "Everyone, this is one of our greater demons at the demon-slaying meet. Furthermore, it's a tiger demon. Of course, it has been starving for a long time, and its body has become much weaker. Its muscles have also atrophied, leaving it at 30% of its peak strength. It will be Meng Chuan's opponent, and will also be the opponent for Mortal Shedding Realm disciples. Everyone, you have to be careful. Even if its strength has been greatly reduced, it is still stronger than you. You must be careful." Bang. The cage door was pulled open. The one-armed man looked at the tiger demon and said coldly, "You can return to your cell after winning 10 consecutive rounds. Furthermore, you will enjoy a month's worth of food and drink." 10 rounds. The tiger demon slowly walked out of the cage with its body bent. It scanned its surroundings. It could sense a terrifying threat from over 10 people in the spectators around the arena. The deans of the 8 great Dao academies, the experts of the 5 great family clans, the experts from the imperial court, Mei Yuanzi from the Jadasun Palace, the one-armed man, etc. They added up to 18 people. Even at its peak, these terrifying humans were able to kill at the moment they clashed. However, it didn't know that more than half of Eastcom Prefecture's powerful experts were present. But of course, the scariest one was the person sitting in the seat of honor. Jadasun Palace Lord sat there, and what it sensed from him felt like a sun. Just releasing a tiny bit of his might was enough to kill it. "My first opponent is this little fellow. The tiger demon glanced at Meng Chuan, who was on the opposite end of the arena. How weak. Tiger demon. Meng Chuan focused intently as the glow in his eyes converged. His killing intent intensified. However, he remained motionless on the spot. This spot was at the edge of the arena. Even if the tiger demon rushed over, it had to be careful that it didn't leave the arena. Demons were executed the moment they stepped out of the arena. Meng Chuan planned on probing the tiger demon before deciding on a battle plan. Whoosh. The moment the tiger demon pounced on him, it brought the smell of blood with. It arrived in front of him in the blink of an eye. Swoosh. Meng Chuan immediately ducked, slashing out as he retreated. However, the tiger's claw blocked the attack, causing Meng Chuan to retreat several steps when he landed on the ground. Speed is my forte, but its speed is not inferior to mine. Meng Chuan was secretly stunned. Its strength is twice mine. This is 30% of its peak strength. Fortunately, it hasn't reached the Unity realm, although it's skilled in combat. I'll target my enemy's weaknesses with my strengths. I have a chance of killing it. He instantly made a decision. Ordinary Dao Academy disciples would be nervous when fighting demons for the first time. It would be impressive if they were able to unleash 70% of their full strength. However, Meng Chuan was different. The flames of passion he had suppressed in his heart since he was young erupted when he faced demons. He became more thrilled. He became even more excited and focused. His body and mind worked in perfect concert, allowing the strength he delivered to be even stronger. This was his combat state. He was in a good state, and he was capable of performing exceptionally well. He actually managed to dodge? Interesting, said the tiger demon in a deep voice before it charged forward once more. Meng Chuan took the initiative to meet it by lunging forward. His speed was no less than the tiger demon. Unlike the tiger demon that just charged forward, his movements were more ethereal, like a gust of wind. Their paths crossed. The instant they met, Meng Chuan's saber silently slashed forward. This strike was the bizarro saber stance of the falling leaf saber, and its crux was to take opponents by surprise. The saber beam slashed across the tiger demon's abdomen, tearing through its furry hide. You injured me? The tiger demon stopped and touched its abdomen, looking even more ferocious. Meng Chuan only stared at it and shouted, "Kill," before he continued charging forward. Whoosh. Whoosh. They crossed each other again. Meng Chuan didn't embroil himself with the tiger demon. He relied on his bizarre movement techniques and employed a hit-and-run strategy. He knew very well that if he were to engage in a head-to-head battle, the powerful resilient tiger demon would be able to exchange blows with him. It only suffered minor injuries from each saber strike, but being hit by the tiger demon's claw would result in severe injuries. It might even lead to death. In the arena, the tiger demon chased after Meng Chuan with a murderous aura as the latter attacked and retreated repeatedly. With every exchange, the tiger demon would be left with a wound on its body. Clearly, Meng Chuan's saber arts were more brilliant. As its wounds increased in number, the tiger demon's injuries gradually worsened. Pfft. Another slash swiped across an existing wound on the tiger demon's lower abdomen, widening the wound 3 times the size. Blood splattered everywhere, causing the tiger demon to stagger. It stared at the human youth with reddened eyes while Meng Chuan continued staring at it coldly. He actually injured the tiger demon seriously. Why do I have the feeling Meng Chuan isn't someone who recently gained insight into the Unity realm? The might he's showcasing is even more ferocious. He's very calm. He doesn't give the tiger demon any chance. The upper echelons of the 5 great family clans, the Dao Academy's deans, and the experts of the imperial government were all chatting with one another. Clearly, they were quite impressed. Chuan. Lu Qia was extremely nervous. Every clash with the tiger demon made her reel with anxiety. That was a greater demon. Is this Meng Chuan's pursuit? Yun Qingping's thoughts drifted as she watched. In her eyes, the silly and wooden Meng Chuan only had cultivation on his mind and was too mild-tempered. She didn't like that. However, his killing intent was terrifying in the arena today. He had killed the goat demon with a single slash. And he was currently engaged in battle with the tiger demon. Although his killing intent was restrained, it only served to make Meng Chuan appear even more terrifying and ferocious. This was still Meng Chuan. Is this his real side? Yun Qingping felt that she had been wrong in the past. Meng Chuan, who normally looked ordinary, appeared ferocious during intense bouts of blood and steel. Perhaps getting married to him wasn't bad either. However, what the family clan had done couldn't be reversed. The wound on the tiger demon's abdomen was deep. However, its muscles rapidly contracted to stop the blood from flowing. Even so, the tiger demon's speed suffered. It glared fiercely at Meng Chuan as it emanated a baneful aura. However, Meng Chuan completely ignored its baneful aura. He was like the calmest hunter that was ready to take its life at any moment. Whoosh. Meng Chuan lunged forward again. Roar. As the two sides closed the gap, the tiger demon roared as it charged forward. With a roar, distorted black ripples surged in all directions. The tiger demon's black and red fur immediately lit up as a golden glow saturated its eyes. Its claws might increase tremendously. Oh? It actually has the bloodline of a demon monarch. It has been imprisoned for more than a year, but we didn't realize it. It really hid itself well. Seated in the seat of honor, Jadasun Palace Lord was alarmed. Invisible forces enveloped every corner of the arena as he was prepared to interfere at any moment. It was Jadasun Palace's fault for arranging demons that exceeded their expectations. When the roar hit him, Meng Chuan felt his ears and head ring. Yet, the more critical the moment, the more focused his mind. This allowed him to maintain his lucidity. Facing the mighty claws, he immediately switched to defending. Over the past few years, he had been defending against Kyo's archery every single day, so he was extremely skilled in defense. Boom. Meng Chuan felt an incomparably heavy and terrifying force pass through his saber and into his body as he was thrown backward. As he was sent flying backward, Meng Chuan immediately tapped the arena beneath his feet to hasten his speedy retreat. The tiger demon immediately pounced forward. It was a narrow escape for Meng Chuan as it failed to pounce onto him. He immediately retreated from the arena and landed on the ground. He staggered as he used his saber to prop himself up. Pfft. He couldn't hold back the mouthful of blood that erupted out of his mouth. His face was pale, and blood seeped out from his ears. It was due to the earlier roar. He actually escaped? The tiger demon stared at Meng Chuan below, feeling extremely shocked. In the face of death, it had been forced to reveal its hidden demon monarch bloodline. The tiger roar would usually be able to stun an enemy at a critical moment. It would take the opportunity to kill the enemy. However, the human youth was still able to block its attacks despite the bleeding in his ears. He didn't hesitate to tap the arena to speed up his retreat as he was sent flying backwards. This caused its second pounce to fail. Chuaner. Meng Dejian rushed over, and Lu Qia was worried as well. This Meng Chuan. Palace Lord Jade Sun's eyes lit up when he saw this. Many experts might seem to be at a high realm, and their combat techniques were powerful during training. However, when it came to life and death battles, it was rather impressive for them to unleash 60 to 70% of their full potential. As for how many could exceed their usual standards, that depended on multiple aspects such as their battle intelligence, will, and state of mind. Those who were good at combat were capable of killing 3 or 4 opponents in a row even if they were in similar realms with their opponents. This is his first time dealing with demons, right? Jadasun Palace Lord was very satisfied. I hope he really can become a god fiend. Meng Chuan could also feel his hearing gradually recovering. Meng Dejiang used his quintessential energy to check on him as he said, Chuaner, it's fine. Your ears were damaged from the vibrations. You will recover in a few days. Okay. Meng Chuan nodded. You were very wise to retreat from the arena just now. This tiger demon actually has the bloodline of a demon monarch. Meng Dejiang said solemnly, it will be sent to the state capital even if it survives since it has been exposed. Next. Suddenly, a voice rang out. Meng Chuan looked over and saw that the speaker was the official from the imperial court. The official smiled and said in a loud, clear voice, Jadasun Palace, Yanjin. Everyone present was shocked. He wasn't a disciple from the 8 Dao academies? After Meng Chuan, shouldn't it be a mortal shedding realm disciple from the Dao academies? Why was it someone from Jadasun Palace? Our Jadasun Palace has a junior as well. He wishes to give it a try. Palace Lord Jadesun smiled as he nodded at the white-robed youth behind him. The white-robed youth rose to his feet and walked towards the arena. What? He's also in the marrow cleansing realm. There were many experts present. They could naturally determine from the white-robed youth's aura that he had yet to cultivate a god-fiend body and was still at the marrow cleansing realm. To deal with the tiger demon at the marrow cleansing realm. Everyone was somewhat astonished. Even Meng Chuan was astonished. He knew how powerful the tiger demon was. Support me on 2B Translation Channel. Chapter 16, Yanjin and Mei Yuan Zi. Under the attention of the 5 great clans and the 8 great Dao academies, the white-robed youth calmly walked up the arena with his sword on his back. His hands reached behind his back. Inside the scabbard were 2 swords. He held a sword in each hand and left them pointing askew to the ground as he coldly stared at the tiger demon. Another young fellow. The tiger demon's face twitched. There was a wound on its face, and more than 10 wounds littered its body. The wound on its abdomen was especially large. Kill. It didn't wish to delay any further as it charged forward. The white-robed youth charged forward head-on with a sword in each hand. Bang. 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 The tiger demon and the white-robed youth, Yanjin, clashed head-on. Although the tiger demon looked more powerful with greater strength and speed, its advantage seemed limited. The white-robed youth's 2 long swords corresponded to yin and yang. When one sword was suppressed, power would be accumulated in the other sword before erupting. The stronger the suppression, the stronger the rebound force. They were fighting head-on. The white-robed youth's sword technique had clearly reached the unity realm. His technique was brilliant. His sword would occasionally add another wound to the tiger demon. The white-robed youth's sword technique has reached the unity realm as well. He's in no way inferior to Meng Chuan. Furthermore, he is likely born with tremendous strength. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to match the tiger demon's strength. He's born with tremendous strength despite looking so young and tender. Everyone was astonished. Meng Chuan was too. With high population numbers, there were occurrences of special people who were born with tremendous strength or exceptional speed. For example, his fellow disciple Wan Meng was born with tremendous strength. His strength at the marrow cleansing realm was comparable to someone at the mortal shedding realm. However, the majority of those who were born with tremendous strength were very muscular. It was rare to see someone like the mysterious youth Yanjin to be born with tremendous strength while having such a figure. Being at the unity realm, the white-dressed youth's body, mind, and technique fused as one. The strength he unleashed was 80% of the tiger demons. His speed was also 70 to 80% of the tiger demons. With the addition of his dual sword technique, he was in no way inferior to it at all. The direct clash worsened the tiger demon's injuries. Roar. The tiger demon roared again as its black and red fur lit up. The might of its claws increased as it once again unleashed the demon monarch bloodline. Boom. There was a loud bang. The white-dressed youth used both his swords to block as he was knocked back several steps from the impact. Blood trickled down the corner of his lips. He forcefully stabilized himself and stared coldly at the tiger demon. He dared to block it head-on. Meng Chuan was somewhat surprised. That's right. The tiger demon's demon monarch bloodline can completely crush me, but it's not that useful when dealing with Yanjin. Besides, his sword technique is clearly good at deflecting forces. Oh? The tiger demon couldn't believe it and immediately pounced forward to continue its barrage of attacks. But with a squishing sound. The huge wound at its abdomen could no longer withstand it using its full strength. The wound split open again, and blood splattered everywhere. Even the other wounds on its body began to bleed. Seeing this, the white-robed youth charged forward without any hesitation, continuing his attack with both swords. Damn it! Damn it! If it weren't for the punk from before dealing this much damage to me. The tiger demon was infuriated. The other wounds were all superficial, but the wound at its lower abdomen was too deep. Under the explosive power of its bloodline, it couldn't suppress the wound from being aggravated. If it were in perfect shape, it would be more willing to fight this white-robed kid. Although the white-robed kid was stronger and more ferocious in close combat, it wasn't afraid of ferociousness. Instead, it was the one who used the saber. He employed hit-and-run tactics. He was extremely slippery, his saber swift and unpredictable. It was how it suffered such serious injuries. Pft, pft, pft. The severe injuries prevented it from unleashing the strength of the demon monarch's bloodline. The tiger demon could only resist with great difficulty, but its strength and speed had clearly weakened. It was completely suppressed by the white-dressed youth as more and more wounds appeared on its body. My fate was determined the day I was captured by that human god fiend. The tiger demon sensed that its life was coming to an end. When the white-robed kid stabbed out with his final strike, it didn't resist. Pft. The sword stabbed into the tiger demon's glabella and penetrated its head. The tiger demon was dead. It had not been able to fight 10 matches in a row, dying in just 2 rounds. It had even died under the hands of 2 marrow-cleansing realm youths. He actually killed him. For a moment, there was utter silence. The white-robed youth retracted his sword and walked down the stage. Jadasun Palace's Yanjin, are you not going to continue? The official from the imperial court asked. Logically speaking, as long as they won and stayed in the arena, Jadasun Palace would arrange for even more powerful demons. The white-robed youth didn't say a word as he walked towards his seat. The imperial court official could do nothing. Since he had already left the arena, that meant that he had naturally given up. He immediately waited for the Jadasun Palace soldiers to remove the tiger demon's corpse and send a new demon over. Oh. The seated Meng Chuan noticed that the white-robed youth came to the Mirror Lake Deo Academy seats and stopped. He turned to look at Meng Chuan and coldly said, if you hadn't injured it, its speed would have been 30% faster. It would have been able to unleash its demon monarch bloodline for a longer period. I would have no choice but to flee. With that said, he continued walking towards his seat. His voice was a little cold. As he spoke, the dean and 6 disciples from Mirror Lake Deo Academy remained silent. Yanjin returned to Jadasun Palace Lord's side and sat down. This person named Yanjin only spoke once the entire time and it was directed at senior brother Meng, Wan Meng said in surprise. Indeed. From the arena to his seat, he only said one sentence. He's really cold. Bai Guan nodded. Meng Chuan stared curiously at the white-robed youth. He could sense the pride in the white-robed youth's bones. He appeared to be so cold that he couldn't be bothered with others. He didn't even respond to the official's question, but he had ended up saying such words to Meng Chuan. Clearly, he didn't want to take advantage of the situation. This Yanjin looks very young, seemingly younger than Meng Chuan, the Meng family's clan leader, Meng Yanping, said in a low voice. He doesn't look very old, said Meng Dejiang. His talent is high, yet he's still in the marrow-cleansing realm. He's probably 15 years old at most. With high talent, even if he didn't have a large family clan behind him, he would still be groomed by the Deo Academy. His cultivation speed wouldn't be slower in any way. It's beginning, clan leader Meng Yanping said. Another demon had entered the arena. This is also a greater demon. However, it's only an ox demon. It looks like Jadasun Palace Lord specially prepared the tiger demon for Chuaner, Meng Dejiang said with a smile. Tiger demons were rarer and all-rounded, with almost no weaknesses. If not for the long-term starvation that led to a decrease in strength, both Meng Chuan and Yanjin wouldn't be qualified to fight a tiger demon that was a greater demon. The disciples of the 8 great Dao academies went up the arena one after another. Disciples at the mortal shedding realm were generally older. The youngest disciples were 16 years old and the oldest ones were 20 years old. They wouldn't be at the Dao academies if they were any older. They would be serving in the military. According to any Dao academy's rules, those at the marrow cleansing realm could only cultivate there to the age of 18. 20 for those at the mortal shedding realm. As for the seamless realm, as long as one attained the seamless realm, they would leave the Dao academy as it no longer had anything to teach them. The battles continued. In the blink of an eye, it was noon. The mortal shedding realm disciples had also finished their battles. The 24 disciples at the mortal shedding realm were generally much more powerful. 3 of them had figured out the secret technique, and these 3 had mortal shedding realm foundations. They were even more powerful than Meng Chuan and Yan Jin. Thus, the battles were even more exciting. However, the 3 disciples who had figured out the secret techniques were inferior to the duo in terms of potential. 2 had figured out the secret technique at 18 years old, while the other had figured out the secret technique at the age of 19. Their chances of becoming god fiends were much lower than the duo. Meng Chuan's father Meng Dejiang and another member of the Meng family Meng Zhu had comprehended the secret technique when they were 19. Similarly, their chances of becoming god fiends were slim. Presently, the person with the highest talent amongst the East Com Prefecture's younger generation was Mei Yuanzi, who had figured out force. The second was Meng Chuan. Ranked behind them were the 3 mortal shedding realm fighters who had comprehended the secret technique. Of course, the white-robed youth Yanjin was also on par with Meng Chuan. In fact, he was even more outstanding. But, he was likely to be a foreigner. Otherwise, it was impossible for the 5 God-Fiend family clans to never hear of him. All the disciples of the 8 Dao academies have had their battles, the official from the imperial court said loudly, his voice echoing throughout the area. Next up is the final demon-slaying battle. Final battle? Everyone was astonished. Even Meng Chuan listened carefully. He thought that it was over. The official from the imperial court continued with a smile. The last battle will pit Mei Yuanzi against a centipede greater demon that has condensed a demon core. Mei Yuanzi? I never expected him to be fighting today. Chapter 17, The Demon-Slaying Meet ends. The Jadasun Palace treats Mei Yuanzi really well. They especially found him a greater demon that has condensed a demon core to battle. Yun Fukin chuckled softly. It's probably because they hope Mei Yuanzi will be able to make use of this battle to improve further, improving his chances of entering Archean Mountain. Brother, do you think Mei Yuanzi can enter Archean Mountain? Yun Fuan asked. If he enters Archean Mountain and becomes a god fiend, he might outshine our Yun family. In the entire East Com Prefecture, only the Zhang family's patriarch was a god fiend from Archean Mountain. If there was an additional one, enter Archean Mountain? Do you think it's that easy to enter? Yun Fukin asked softly. In the Great Zhou Dynasty's 23 states, there are only 20 spots. Additionally, the descendants of powerful god fiends from the imperial capital and the state capitals all want to enter too. It's much harder for a commoner genius to enter Archean Mountain compared to those powerful god fiend descendants. What about Meng Chuan? Yun Fuan couldn't help but ask. Fairy Meng will definitely help Meng Chuan with all she has. Fairy Meng is nothing. Yun Fukin shook his head gently. He enveloped the area with his energy to isolate their conversation. She didn't even enter Archean Mountain. Even father's greatest goal was to enter Archean Mountain. Yun Fuan nodded. Whether one entered Archean Mountain was a demarcating line that differentiated the strength of god fiends. As long as they were strong enough, they would be invited by Archean Mountain. As for Mei Yuanzi, he figured out Ice Force too late. There's only a 20 to 30% chance of entering Archean Mountain, Yun Fukin said. I understand his temper. He's quite arrogant. Even if he becomes a god fiend of Archean Mountain, he wouldn't be willing to remain in Eastcom Prefecture. In this world, other than those who were shackled by their large family clans, the truly talented commoners who had no attachments would rather settle down in the state capitals, imperial capital, or even move their families to the Archean Mountain region. Everyone was discussing Mei Yuanzi. Many people felt that Mei Yuanzi's chances of entering Archean Mountain were slim, but everyone knew he had a chance at least. That was already very impressive. Be careful, instructed Jadasun Palace Lord. Okay. The skinny Mei Yuanzi stood up and walked towards the arena. When he arrived in the arena, he faced a demon with a black carapace covering its body. It had a woman's face and 6 armored arms. It also had a sharp black tail that was particularly eye-catching. It looked at Mei Yuanzi with a faint smile, its voice very gentle. Very young fellow. I can sense your vigorous vitality. Mei Yuanzi drew his sword and a terrifying chill condensed. At that moment, Mei Yuanzi was like an ice mountain as his might constantly increased. Even the cold air that he gradually released caused the entire arena to produce frost. Ice Force. The centipede demoness smiled. But it looks like you only figured it out recently. Kill. A cold glint flashed across Mei Yuanzi's eyes. His body instantly split into 7. 7 figures appeared in different spots, surrounding the centipede demon as each slashed out a sword beam. 7 sword beams cleaved at the centipede demon in the middle. The centipede demon stood there motionless. You are dispensing that tiny bit of power. Her 6 arms struck out in every direction, producing a series of thunderous booms. The centipede demon's hands were white, but they were incomparably tough. She shattered each sword beam to pieces. Pfft. Mei Yuanzi's true body suddenly appeared in front of the centipede demon. He thrust his sword towards the centipede demon's head. It was bizarre, but it was faster and more terrifying than the 7 sword beams earlier. Oh. The centipede demon was shocked. 2 of its hands forcefully clasped the sword. It stared at Mei Yuanzi and grinned. So the 7 sword beams were purposely used as a distraction. This is the actual killer move. Shatter. Mei Yuanzi's eyes flashed fiercely. The sword in the centipede demon's hand suddenly exploded and the sharp sword shards shot out as they were boosted by quintessential energy. The shards hit the centipede demon's face, causing it to let out an anguished howl. A layer of ice formed on the surface of Mei Yuanzi's palms as he struck the centipede demon's chest. Boom. The centipede demon was sent flying. This is the real killer move. Mei Yuanzi's eyes were cold. He knew very well that he was a little weaker compared to the centipede demon that had condensed a demon core. Thus, the first thing he did was give it his all. People knew he was skilled in sword arts. But after he had figured out Ice Force, it made no difference using Ice Force with a sword art or a fist art. The sword wasn't important to him, it was just used as a distraction. The centipede demon's face was covered in blood as its chest caved in. It let out an angry howl as it flew backward. Humans are truly sinister. Die. The raging centipede demon's aura expanded rapidly as its demon core shattered. Its demonic energy was instantly boosted to a new extreme. Die. The centipede demon struck out simultaneously with its 6 palms but strangely ended up striking the 2 Deo Academies closest to it, the Blazing Sun Academy and the Wind Center Deo Academy. Swish. 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 In an instant, hundreds of black beams shot out from the 6 palms, shooting towards the 2 Deo Academy's seats. The centipede demon's tail expanded and its extremely sharp stinger flailed about, instantly stabbing at Mei Yuanzi, who was still shocked. Not good. Be careful. Everyone was in a panic. The 2 deans of Blazing Sun Deo Academy and Wind Center Deo Academy were both shocked and furious. The 12 disciples were even more terrified. We won't be able to hold it off. The two deans faced hundreds of black beams. It would already be a blessing if they could save a disciple or two while protecting themselves. There was no way they could save everyone. Kia. Meng Chuan was alarmed as well. Despite being spectators, danger had befallen them suddenly. The centipede demon had attacked the spectating Dao Academy disciples. Immobilize. The seated Jadasun Palace Lord frowned slightly as he softly commanded. The surrounding void trembled. The hundreds of black beams that were faster than arrows were completely obliterated. The centipede demon lost control of itself as it was hoisted into the air. Unable to move a single inch of its body, it disbelievingly stared at Jadasun Palace Lord who was sitting on the seat of honor. Impossible. There's no way you can stop a strike after I shattered my demon core from such a distance. Nothing is impossible. Jadasun Palace Lord stood up and took 2 steps before reaching the arena. He looked at the centipede demon that was completely frozen and unable to fight back. I never expected that you would actually have the guts to shatter your demon core and even attempt to kill us humans. Ha ha ha. The centipede demon let out a shrill laugh. Don't you humans want to use me to hone your young geniuses? How can I grant your wishes? Not only that, but I'll also kill your juniors. The more I kill, the better. Unfortunately, I failed in the end. None of them were killed. Cough, cough. The corner of its mouth was stained with green blood. It couldn't live for long after shattering its demon core. Just wait. The entire world will ultimately belong to demons. When that happens, all of you humans will die. All of you will, the centipede demoness shouted hysterically. Pfft. The centipede demon was instantly diced by invisible threads, turning into a pool of black-green blood. What a joke. Jadasun Palace Lord scoffed before turning to look at Mei Yuanzi who was still in a daze. He hadn't expected the centipede demon to deliberately take his blow and use the impact to approach the Dao Academy disciples in attempt to kill them. The centipede had never intended to fight him from the beginning. Deploying such a greater demon with a condensed core. It's not like greater demons are obedient. All right, you may leave, instructed Jadasun Palace Lord. Yes. Mei Yuanzi nodded. Jadasun Palace Lord stood alone in the arena as he looked at the various factions. The spectators felt lingering fear in their hearts. The centipede demon's suicide attack by shattering its demon core was too terrifying. Since I dared to arrange for a greater demon to enter the arena, there won't be any slip ups, said Jadasun Palace Lord indifferently. This demon-slaying meet is over. With that said, Jadasun Palace Lord turned and left. In just a few steps, he vanished from everyone's sight. Everyone. At that moment, the magistrate stood up and said with a smile, everyone must have been shocked just now. However, with the Palace Lord around, the greater demon that condensed a demon core is nothing but a clown. The disciples of the 8 Dao Academies have also seen how powerful the demons are at today's demon-slaying meet. These demons are chained and have suffered in prison. They are unable to utilize their peak strength. Therefore, when you enter the battlefield, your opponents will be even more terrifying even if you have companions. Therefore, Dao Academy disciples, you must cultivate more diligently. In the future, you will be able to protect yourself on the battlefield and kill more demons. The demon-slaying meet was over. Everything the centipede demon did had left the Dao Academy disciples astounded. Of course, Jadasun Palace Lord's incredible strength made them yearn for it. The centipede demon was as weak as an ant in front of the Palace Lord. Amazing. Chuan, did you see it? Hundreds of black beams of light were shattered, and the centipede demon was lifted up, unable to move in midair at all. Lu Kia was still very excited on the way home. From beginning to end, I didn't even see Jadasun Palace Lord attack. Just a tiny amount of his energy was already so terrifying. Kia, you were almost killed by the centipede demon, yet you are still so excited, said Meng Chuan helplessly. Don't you think the Palace Lord is very strong? Asked Lu Kia immediately. That's a god fiend that came from Archean Mountain. How can he not be strong? An eagerness arose in Meng Chuan's eyes. He had always dreamt of becoming a god fiend. 2B Translation Channel. Chapter 18, First Meeting with Grand Aunt. Mirror Lake Meng Manor. Meng Chuan cultivated the falling leaf saber on the training grounds. His entire body was like a gust of wind amidst flashing saber beams. He completed an entire set in the blink of an eye. He walked to the stone bench and sat down, lost in thought. He recalled his conversation with Dean Geu yesterday. Dean, after I figured out the secret technique, my falling leaf saber reached a perfected state. There's no more room for improvement. How should I continue my cultivation to figure out saber force? Meng Chuan, the more you cultivate saber arts, the more you will have to rely on yourself. What I can teach you is limited, Geu said with a smile as he drank his alcohol. I can only tell you how I figured out force. Back when I was on the battlefield in Kinyang Pass, I faced demons in life and death battles. I began to find my saber arts rather burdensome, so I gradually modified my saber arts. I used whatever killed demons the easiest. After my military service, I requested to remain at Kinyang Pass and spent 12 years there. One day, my self-created saber arts reached perfection, and I figured out saber force, said Geu. A self-created saber art. Meng Chuan was astonished. That's right. Geu smiled as he drank his alcohol. Once you cultivate a top-notch saber art to perfection, you will be able to comprehend the secret technique and reach the unity realm. You will be able to figure out saber force if you create a top-notch technique you can call your own. Dean, what kind of saber art did you create? Can I have a look? Meng Chuan asked curiously. Haha, feast your eyes. At the time, the half-drunk Geu grew excited as he began to showcase his saber art. His saber arts were more sinister, more bizarre, and even more ferocious. Geu was thin, but he had a long saber. He was like a mandrill brandishing its saber. Saber flashes surrounded him as if every part of his body could produce saber flashes. The courtyard became much colder, countless leaves tore apart and fluttered under the saber beam. Meng Chuan felt his heart chill when seeing the sinister and bizarre saber art. This was just a demonstration, one that didn't involve killing enemies with all his might. It was probably 10 times more powerful when it came to killing enemies. This was Eastcom Prefecture's swiftest saber. This saber art isn't suitable for you. Geu swung his saber and stabbed it into the scabbard hanging by his side. He smiled and said, "This is the most suitable saber art for me. I'm small-sized and skinny, but my arms are quite long. This saber art is suitable for my build. For ordinary people like you, it's best to cultivate the falling leaf saber." The falling leaf saber was created by a god fiend from Archean Mountain, so it's the most suitable to build a foundation with. The Mirror Lake Deo Academy doesn't have much left to teach you since you've perfected the falling leaf saber. You'll need to rely on yourself, said Geu with a smile. As a dean, I don't have any other extravagant wishes. I just want to produce a Archean Mountain god fiend in my life. Haha, then Geu will be able to brag for the rest of my life. Meng Chuan contemplated as he recalled the conversation. Chuaner. Meng Dejiang came to the training grounds. Dad. Meng Chuan stood up. Come, follow me to the ancestral mansion to meet your grand aunt, Meng Dejiang said. Meng Chuan jolted. Grand aunt. Dad, are you referring to? Yes, the fairy, said Meng Dejiang softly. Meng Chuan's eyes lit up. This was the Meng family's pride and joy, a pillar of support for the Meng family. The second god fiend in the Meng family's history. Dad, let's go. Meng Chuan was extremely excited and couldn't wait to see his grand aunt. In the ancestral mansion, Fairy Meng's residence looked ordinary. All it did was take up an area that was slightly larger than other ordinary yards in the ancestral mansion. Follow me in. Meng Dejiang led Meng Chuan into the courtyard carefully, not daring to make any loud noises. In the courtyard, an old woman with her walking stick was watching a peach tree blossom. She carefully looked at the flowers that had just bloomed. Meng Chuan carefully observed. The old woman was very quiet when she observed the peach blossoms, as though she had become one with the world. If one closed their eyes, one wouldn't be able to sense the old lady's existence. Meng Chuan understood that this old lady was likely Fairy Meng, his grand-aunt. You're here. Fairy Meng turned her head and smiled at the father and son duo. Quick, greet your grand-aunt. Meng Dejiang urged softly. Only then did Meng Chuan rush forward. He knelt and kowtowed. Greetings, grand-aunt. Quickly get up. Fairy Meng sat down. Both of you can sit down. Only then did Meng Dejiang and Meng Chuan sit to the side. Meng Chuan was very curious about his grand-aunt. He carefully observed her appearance. She had to be very beautiful when she was young. Unbeknownst to him, Fairy Meng looked like a mortal in her 30s or 40s before her injury. Meng Chuan, come here. Come closer to me, said Fairy Meng gently. Meng Chuan immediately sat on a nearby chair. Fairy Meng held Meng Chuan's hand and looked at him. The more she looked at him, the more fond she became of him. This was the Meng family's hope. Meng Chuan, you should be at the perfected marrow cleansing realm in another 2 or 3 months, right? Asked Fairy Meng. Yes. Meng Chuan nodded. Foundation establishment, body tempering, marrow cleansing. All of them only forge your foundation. It allows one to cultivate their bodies to perfection, said Fairy Meng. When one is at the mortal shedding realm, they will begin to shed their mortal coils, cultivate god-fiend bodies, and gradually possess the power of god-fiends. This is a change in life's natural order. It's akin to ants transforming into tigers or leopards. We will slowly transform from mortals to god-fiends. The first step in the transformation is the mortal shedding realm. This step is especially important. At this stage, one can create an extremely robust god-fiend foundation as long as sufficient valuable treasures are provided. A god-fiend foundation. Meng Chuan was stunned. The growth of a fetus in their mother's womb is very important, said Fairy Meng. Some ancient god-fiend family clans would have pregnant women consume all kinds of valuable treasures. Once born, their children will far exceed their peers. The mortal shedding realm is akin to a god-fiend fetus growth, said Fairy Meng. It can change one's talent at the most critical moment. I've already used up all the treasures our family saved up over the years to exchange for a drop of god-fiend jade marrow liquid. When you begin cultivating a god-fiend body, you can immediately consume it. That will allow you to set up a strong foundation. The strength of your body and the purity of your quintessential energy will far exceed your peers. God-fiend jade marrow liquid. Meng Dejiang was shocked. This. And, by doing this, perhaps more than half the Meng family's savings had been spent. This matter hadn't been discussed with the clan leader and elders. After all, Meng Dejiang hadn't known. This is my decision, and I've already done it, said Fairy Meng. A god-fiend's foundation is very important. If you miss the earliest period during the mortal shedding realm, no amount of treasures in the future can change the foundation. It's worth expending all our family's resources for this drop of god-fiend jade marrow liquid. Meng Chuan suddenly felt immense pressure. Why is Grandaunt putting all her effort into this? To exchange all the family clan's treasures for a single drop of a god-fiend jade marrow liquid, and it's for me? The family clan has always maintained fair rules. I have only figured out the secret technique. Whether I become a god-fiend is still unknown. Why is the family grooming me to such an extent? Meng Chuan. Fairy Meng smiled as she looked at this child that shared her blood. She could tell that he was feeling uneasy. I'm severely injured and can only live another 7 to 8 years. Therefore, I can't afford to wait any longer. I have to do my best to groom you. Meng Chuan was stunned. The pillar of the family clan can only live for another 7 to 8 years. Fairy Meng continued, not only did I exchange a drop of the god-fiend jade marrow liquid for you. All the credit I accumulated with Archean Mountain by battling with demons for 80 years will be transferred to you as long as you achieve Saber Force before 20 years of age. Aunt, this credit was accumulated by you over so many years, said Meng Dejiang. It's worth it as long as the family clan can produce another god fiend. Fairy Meng looked at Meng Chuan. Meng Chuan, you are our family's only hope. I have a feeling that you can shoulder all of this. When Meng Chuan was 6, he experienced a calamity. His temperament was extraordinary, so he quickly accepted it. He nodded and said, Grand Aunt, I don't know if I can become a god fiend, but I will do everything I can to still be calm at this moment. Fairy Meng smiled and nodded. Very good. You didn't disappoint me. Meng Dejiang felt a little nervous. Dejiang. Fairy Meng said, perhaps you might not agree with how I'm telling Meng Chuan everything and betting everything on him. But to become a god fiend, how can one not have a strong fortitude? You have to believe in your son. Meng Chuan is stronger than you think. Chapter 19, Meng Chuan's Cultivation Path. Meng Dejiang looked at his son and thought about the battles at the demon-slaying meet 2 days ago. He understood. Although his son was still young, it was indeed time for him to be independent. Before Meng Chuan cultivates a god fiend body, bring him to me to get the god fiend jade marrow liquid. Fairy Meng exhorted. Yes, replied Meng Dejiang. That drop of god fiend jade marrow liquid was incomparably precious. Even for geniuses from some ancient god fiend family clans in the imperial capital, they were unable to obtain a drop of god fiend jade marrow liquid to forge their god fiend foundation. Generally speaking, only 1 in a century geniuses would receive intense grooming by an ancient god fiend family clan. For god fiend family clans with limited heritage, how could they possibly bet everything on one child like the Meng family? Meng Chuan, you can ask me if you have any questions regarding your cultivation, said Fairy Meng with a smile. You can also talk to me if you encounter any trouble. Grand Aunt. Meng Chuan immediately said, I do have something I am rather perplexed about. Let me guess. How do you reach the next stage for saber arts, said Fairy Meng with a smile. Yes. Meng Chuan nodded. I've asked the dean at the Dao Academy. He only said that he figured out saber force by creating a top-notch saber art. That's indeed a method. Fairy Meng nodded as she looked at Meng Dejiang. Dejiang, how did you break through? Meng Dejiang was taken aback as he reminisced. He said, back when I served in the military, each member of a team was delegated with particular tasks. I was responsible for holding back demons. Therefore, I mainly cultivated 3 saber moves. I stayed at Kinyang Pass for 10 years. I later returned to our hometown and traveled the surrounding prefectures along the way. I happened to encounter a battle between a woman and a demon. Meng Dejiang looked at Meng Chuan and smiled. That was your mother. Meng Chuan's heart trembled. Mom. Your mother was very pretty. I will never forget your mother's figure fighting demons under the sun. Pumped with energy back then, I rushed forward without any thought and used my saber art to easily hold back demons. My saber art felt especially ethereal and extremely easy. I actually figured out saber force just like that, said Meng Dejiang with a smile. The first time I met your mother was the day I figured out saber force. How coincidental. Dejiang accumulated 10 years of experience on the battlefield before breaking through that very day, said Fairy Meng. Dejiang simply cultivated 3 moves, while the Mirror Lake Dao Academy dean created a top-notch saber art. Your dean focused on breadth, and Dejiang focused on depth. Neither one is better. In fact, when it comes to holding back enemies, your father is better. Meng Chuan nodded as well. I've read God Fiend biographies. Regarding God Fiend Deng Feng, he trained his saber alone in the deep mountains. He drew his saber 10,000 times every day, for 20 years. The moment he left the mountain, he killed a seamless realm cultivator in 1 strike while being at the marrow cleansing realm. That's right. To be able to achieve that feat, that 1 strike would have exceeded the realm of saber force. He is a perfect example of depth, just that his talent is much higher than your father's. That saber strike was so stunning he was directly recruited by Archean Mountain. There's no need for him to go through a test, said Fairy Meng. However, having no guidance meant a fatal flaw in his saber arts. He only knew a single move. If others understood him completely and targeted his weaknesses, he would have been in trouble. Of course, he was recruited by Archean Mountain the moment he showed the tip of the iceberg, so he quickly fixed that weakness. He became even more powerful, becoming truly invincible in that era. Meng Chuan nodded slightly. I spent a long time at Comsi Pass and received guidance from King Comsi, said Fairy Meng. It's hard to estimate how strong King Comsi is. He has an extremely high status in Archean Mountain. In terms of strength, he is definitely not inferior to the god fiend Deng Feng that you mentioned. Meng Chuan obviously knew that King Comsi was very powerful. In East Com Prefecture, ordinary mortals would go to Kinyang Pass for military service. As for the god fiends of East Com Prefecture, most of them went to Comsi Pass. The commander at Comsi Pass was King Comsi. Even the imperial family of the Great Zhou dynasty respected him greatly, directly conferring him the title of king. King Comsi once told me, Fairy Meng looked at Meng Chuan and continued that cultivation requires one to follow one's intuition and follow what one likes the most before forging forward. You will go further and further. When you look back after a few decades, you would have far surpassed your former self. I'll share this saying with you as well. Follow your heart and proceed down what you like the most. Okay. Meng Chuan nodded. Meng Chuan returned to the Mirror Lake Meng Manor training grounds. He ate some fruit alone as he sat there, contemplating. King Comsi's words of advice to my grandaunt and the fourth commandment out of the 9 commandments I figured out, novice and grandmaster, share some similarities, Meng Chuan mused to himself. Since I've to follow my intuition and do what my heart desires, I'll be able to put more heart into cultivation and enjoy it. This will deepen my love for it. I'll even have a chance of becoming a grandmaster. After listening to the dean, dad, and grandaunt, I know how I should be cultivating next by following the 9 cultivation commandments. Meng Chuan already had an idea. However, he still had to listen to his seniors who had achieved force for validation. 6th of the 9 cultivation commandments, turn what you learn into a system. This way, there will not be any fatal flaws. What decides the life and death of an expert typically depends on his most fatal weakness. As long as he has a clear weakness, it would be targeted in the future. If he is restrained, he will lose his life. One failure will be equivalent to losing your life despite the 100 victories gained from using one skill to eat your fill. God Fiend Deng Feng was only good with one move. Grandaunt also said that God Fiend Deng Feng had a fatal flaw. Fortunately, he was immediately recruited into Archean Mountain, which made up for his shortcomings. As a saber user, there are only 3 aspects: killing enemies, defense, and escaping. These 3 moves form a system. Next, I'll focus on these 3 paths. 5th commandment, progress in the day, change over the months, success would ultimately come. The ancients once said, piling up small quantities of earth daily, you can create a mountain with time. The mountain makes wind possible, which in turn brings in the rain. Channeling small streams and connecting them, you can create a lake, which in turn will bring about aquatic life. Continuously doing good deeds for people and being kind to them, no matter how small each deed may be, you'll have cultivated the heart of a saint. Take a few steps every day and you'll finish a journey of 1,000 miles. The ocean is but an amalgamation of rivers. The mythical unicorn can't reach heaven in one leap. An old horse that does not cease running will bring you home. If you give up, you won't even break a piece of rotten wood. Persevering will allow one to carve gold into shape. Earthworms have no bones and claws, but they can go up and down the earth. Hermit crabs with their 6 legs and 2 pincers can't even make their own homes without taking over holes already made by snakes and eels. But there is a fatal flaw. Even if progress is made daily, if one walks a huge circle, they will still end up in the same spot. Walking the wrong direction will not bring me to the destination 1,000 miles away. It's the same for cultivation as well. If there's no clear direction, and all one does is cultivate, it's very likely to be led astray. It's also possible that I'll just be going in circles. Even if it takes 10 or 20 years, nothing will come out of it. This is also one of the reasons why God Fiend Deng Feng's cultivation in most saber arts failed. Many juniors diligently cultivated saber arts like God Fiend Deng Feng. However, many of them met with failure, most giving up midway. That was because they had the guidance of their Dao academies and the guidance of their elders. Who could ignore the interference from the outside world and waste 8 hours every day to practice a single move? Even if one really ignored all disturbances and cultivated only one move, it would be normal to end up going astray. Of course, there were also successful cases. That led to the saying, one skill to eat your fill. I need a clear direction to ensure I'm progressing. By heading forward without any turns or detours, I'll go further every day. In the end, I'll be able to truly reach my destination 1,000 miles away. Why do I like the Swift Saber? It's because it's fast. So the direction I can confirm is speed. Training grounds. Young master, shall I begin? A guard stood on a tree branch with a crossbow aimed at the ground. Begin. Meng Chuan stood still. Swoosh. The guard pulled the trigger and an arrow immediately shot downwards. Meng Chuan instantly drew his saber and slashed out. Pfft. The flying arrow was sliced into two and a saber beam cut across the thick tree, leaving a mark on it. As long as the mark left on the tree by the saber beam continues moving upwards, it will mean that my saber is getting faster. I will be able to slice the flying arrow in half earlier. Killing enemies, defense, and escaping. He only practiced a single move for killing. Following his intuition and what he liked the most, he chose the saber drawing stance. He enjoyed the silence when he drew his sword and the hum when it sliced through the wind. Such a saber move was so beautiful that he was enamored by it every single time. He found the sound of wind being sliced through more pleasant the faster he drew his saber. He only practiced one move in pursuit of speed. Speed. He liked it since he was young. The faster the better. Swish. The guard on the tree shot another arrow again. The advantage of crossbows was that their shots were stable. Each arrow's speed could be guaranteed to be uniform. Only by doing so would Meng Chuan be able to confirm that the speed of his saber was increasing. Not only was he pursuing speed, but also accuracy. In that split second, he needed to split the flying arrows with one strike. Every day, Meng Chuan cultivated the first stance saber drawing stance. He would draw his saber and strike the flying arrows for 6 hours, nearly 8,000 times. The saber drawing stance originated from the falling leaf saber's saber drawing stance. It was part of the syllabus decided by Archean Mountain for all of the great Zhou dynasty's Dao academies because its moves were perfect. Chapter 20, Father and Son. There were a total of 3 guards in charge of firing the crossbow in rotation. At the same time, 5 guards were responsible for the loading of flying arrows into empty crossbows. These crossbows were rather intricate, allowing for 10 arrows to be loaded at a time. Fortunately, the flying arrows were easy to make. Every flying arrow was the length of a palm, and the wooden shaft came equipped with arrowheads. Every day, Meng Chuan needed to snap 8,000 flying arrows, so the craftsmen needed to create enough wooden shafts and install arrowheads on them quickly. Hurry up. Every day, the servants would send a bunch of arrows to a workshop. The workshop arranged for 10 apprentices to be in charge of making the wooden shafts and installing the arrowheads. According to Meng Chuan's orders, these wooden shafts needed a red dot imprinted on them. When the time came, he would draw his saber and slice the red dot on the wooden shaft. It wasn't difficult making wooden shafts other than it being time-consuming. Over time, those crossbows would have to be maintained and even changed. Whoosh. Standing there, Meng Chuan instantly drew his saber. With a saber flash, he split a phantom-like flying arrow. It hit the wooden shaft's red dot. The remnants of the saber flash landed on the tree trunk that was wrapped in metal, leaving a mark. I need to be faster. He sought speed with every slash. His physical body, quintessential energy, and saber art fused. Under his mind's intense desire, he constantly excavated his potential as he constantly pursued higher speed. A person's body had immense potential. The more potential one excavated, the greater the power one could unleash. Cultivating through repeated practice was more effective than just visualization. During the process of striking out repetitively, his body, quintessential energy, and saber art began to meld into one, becoming more tightly bound together. Although the improvement was very subtle, Meng Chuan could tell that he had improved from the marks left on the tree's metal skin. The traces left by the saber beam would slowly move up every day. Even the slightest improvement delighted him. He knew he was improving. His saber arts were getting faster. I have to be more accurate and faster. Meng Chuan's form of cultivation was extravagant, but the few seamless realm cultivators who were supposed to be his sparring partners were no longer needed. The amount of money spent every month ended up reducing a little. The cost of hiring a few seamless realm cultivators was too high. The present Meng Chuan had already figured out the secret technique. The few seamless realm experts who had figured out the secret technique were of little help to him. The second focus of his daily cultivation were movement techniques and defensive saber arts. Fire! A servant ordered. Swish. 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 10 marrow cleansing guards and 2 mortal shedding guards simultaneously fired their arrows. The arrow shafts were made from scarlet blood black chiron, but there were no arrowheads. The arrowheads were covered with cloth. When the 12 arrows shot out from 100 feet away, the force delivered by a marrow cleansing guard reached 500 kilograms of force. Needless to say, the mortal shedding guards delivered even greater strength. It was obvious how fast the arrows were. As a dense cluster of arrows shot over, Meng Chuan was to use a movement technique to dodge as best as he could while using his saber arts to block them. Fire! The first unit of guards all retreated. The second unit of guards also included 10 at the marrow cleansing realm and 2 at the mortal shedding realm. They released their arrows as well. Fire! Soon, a third unit consisting of the same makeup as the first 2 fired simultaneously. The 3 units took turns. After the third unit finished, the first unit would be ready. One unit after another, each volley was released in unison. And each time, 2 arrows came from mortal shedding realm guards. The 2 arrows were faster and more powerful. They posed a huge threat due to the short distance. Under the hail of arrows, Meng Chuan would occasionally be hit. He, too, would fatigue and tire. But he had to persevere. The more exhausted he was, the more determination he needed. By tempering one's body and mind as one, the fusion of body and mind would be deeper. This allowed his movement techniques to be even faster. It would be even more agile. This also sped up his saber defenses. This form of training required a total of 30 marrow cleansing realm guards and 6 mortal shedding realm guards to aid him. This lasted an hour each day. Shooting arrows continuously for an hour exhausted the guards despite having rotations. Meng Chuan also reached his limit. When it was late at night, Meng Chuan, who would have fully recovered his quintessential energy, would undergo his final training for the day ultimate saber drawing stance. Meng Chuan stood there alone without moving. Suddenly, his body transformed into a phantom, and he instantly traveled 100 feet and sent out a saber beam. This time, his movement technique was even fast, and his slashes were even faster. He was much faster than he was during the day. Why were his movement technique and saber art faster? This was because the ultimate saber drawing stance released with the maximum amount of quintessential energy. He would feel swelling and pain from reaching the limits of his meridians. If he circulated additional quintessential energy into his meridians, he was sure they would suffer damage. By pushing himself to the limits, his movement and saber arts were naturally faster. However, his quintessential energy would be expended at an alarming rate whenever he used the ultimate saber drawing stance. But despite the flaw, it was very powerful. Once, twice. Meng Chuan pushed himself to his limit over and over again. His figure turned into phantom images as he left behind ethereal saber flashes. 31 times. Meng Chuan stopped. The meridians his quintessential energy passed through were aching, but there was no stinging pain. I can only execute the ultimate saber drawing stance 31 times after pushing my quintessential energy to the limit. According to the Dao Academy's teachings, the body is very magical. Muscles and bones will become stronger under training. If my meridians are trained to their limits, they will slowly become broader and tougher. The circulation of quintessential energy will also stimulate my meridians to adapt. I want my meridians to withstand even stronger bursts. In that case, when a true life and death battle does break out, my movement technique and saber arts will be faster at full force. To force the body to adapt to more quintessential energy was another method to fusing one's body, mind, and technique. He could become stronger by combining both methods. These three types of cultivation together with standard medicinal baths and medicinal pills to speed up his marrow cleansing were Meng Chuan's daily cultivation routine. He persevered. Days passed. His father had left East Com Prefecture. His father's restaurant could be said to be number one in the East Com Prefecture because it had a single condiment, lotus fish powder. It was a very special type of powder ground from dried fish. Used as a seasoning, it made ordinary dishes absolutely delicious. The restaurant became the best in all of East Com Prefecture by relying on the lotus fish powder. However, just what sort of fish was this lotus fish? The other God-fiend clans in East Com Prefecture wanted to know as well. However, it was clear that the Meng family kept it a secret. This was a mysterious little fish that Meng Dejiang had discovered. He went out of town twice a year, with each trip taking 1 to 2 months so he could bring back the mysterious lotus fish powder. It wasn't that terrible either. Meng Dejiang spent 3 to 4 months away from home, but Qiu's father Liu Yebai would spend most of his time outside. Night. Two figures passed through the wilderness like ghosts. We have arrived at the Yufeng Prefecture that's inside the Wu State. Let's rest in Yufeng Prefecture. You must give your injuries adequate rest. You can't travel any further. Two figures came to a halt. One of them was a somewhat dissolute and elegant Liu Yebai, while the other was Meng Dejiang who had lost weight. Meng Dejiang was dressed in black. After he lost weight, his figure was similar to when he was young. He also became much more handsome. His face was pale, and he couldn't help coughing softly. Cough, cough. Meng Dejiang covered his mouth as he coughed. However, there was blood in his hand. Liu Yebai couldn't help but say, "You really are going all out." Chuaner is about to enter the mortal shedding realm. I have to accumulate enough credit, said Meng Dejiang. Liu Yebai shook his head and said, "You've been risking your life for so many years. All your efforts have been exchanged for a nice heart fruit. Was it worth it for your son's God-fiend foundation?" Meng Dejiang smiled exhaustedly and said, "My greatest pride in this life is my son. As long as it's for Chuaner, it's worth it no matter how much I pay for it. Support me on 2B Translation Channel. Chapter 21, Perfected Marrow Cleansing. I really have no idea what to say about you. Liu Yebai shook his head and smiled. He was rendered speechless by his good friend. However, wasn't it because they appreciated each other that allowed them to be such good friends? Let's enter the city, said Meng Dejiang. The two of them silently arrived at the Yufeng Prefecture. It was late at night, and the city gates had already been shut. Guards patrolling the city walls. However, Meng Dejiang and Liu Yebai phased into two blurs, and gently leaped over 100 feet high over 100 feet higher than the city walls. Furthermore, a faint black fog surrounded them, making detecting them in the dark harder. Just like that, the duo silently glided 100 feet over the city wall. My lord. My lord. On the city walls, Wang Qinfan led several subordinates to inspect the city walls. The guards were very respectful. Wang Qinfan suddenly frowned and raised his head. Oh. My lord, what's wrong? A deputy asked curiously. Make sure everyone is careful. Don't let the demons sneak in, said Wang Qinfan with a frown. He felt something was amiss, but he couldn't explain why. He was a seamless expert who had comprehended force, and was part of Yafu Prefecture's garrison. Nobody below the God-fiend realm could escape his senses. If it really was a God-fiend or a demon monarch, it was meaningless for mortals like them to stop those existences. Yes, answered the deputy immediately. Swoosh. Meng Dejiang and Liu Yebai snuck into Yufeng Prefecture City. The leader of the city gate's garrison was actually an expert who achieved force. If we had been careless, we would have been discovered by him, Liu Yebai said with a smile. If we did get discovered, we can't stay here for long. I've implicated you, said Meng Dejiang. Why say such things between us? Liu Yebai asked. The servants of a mansion in Yufeng Prefecture City were all aware that two good friends of their master had visited, and their master was hosting them warmly. All right, you are dismissed, Liu Yebai ordered. Yes. The wealthy businessman was very obedient. Only Liu Yebai and Meng Dejiang were left in the hall. Meng Dejiang was staring at a roasted goat as he ate. Beside him was a large amount of beef. Kaka. Kaka. Meng Dejiang opened his mouth wide and no matter how hard the bones were easily crushed them to pieces. He ate the meat and occasionally picked up a gourd to drink the alcohol within. Dejiang, seeing you eat like this has me craving. Liu Yebai sat there and poured himself a glass. He drank slowly and smiled. Speaking of which, your appetite is definitely the best in East Com Prefecture. You can completely finish a whole lamb and over 50 kilograms of beef and pork. Are you envious of me? Meng Dejiang obviously gained some weight. He picked up the jar and filled his gourd. When it was full, he took out a porcelain bottle and placed 3 pills into the gourd. No matter what, I have never heard of your cultivation formulation before becoming stronger by eating, Liu Yebai said with a sigh. Meng Dejiang drank while eating. After finishing the meat, he gained about 5 kilograms. This makes my recovery speed fast. I've recovered from most of my injuries today, said Meng Dejiang. I'll be completely healed by tomorrow. However, I burned too much weight in the previous battle. To recover to my peak state, I still have to eat for 5 to 6 days. Eat slowly, there's no rush. Liu Yebai smiled. The earliest Meng Chuan enters the mortal shedding realm is May. There's still ample time. Okay. Meng Dejiang nodded. While staying in the manor for 6 days, Liu Yebai secretly managed matters. Meng Dejiang ate, drank, and cultivated daily. After 6 days, his weight had increased by about 40 kilograms. He turned back into a fatty from his previous handsome appearance. When his strength returned to its peak, Meng Dejiang and Liu Yebai quietly left the Yufeng Prefecture City. What happened? The wealthy merchant and the 6 servants in the luxurious manor snapped awake. They felt as if they had been dreaming for the past 6 days. As to what they dreamed of, they couldn't remember anything at all. On May 2nd, Meng Dejiang and Liu Yebai returned to East Com Prefecture. We're back. The two felt extremely happy looking at the Mirror Lake Meng Manor in front of them. Meng Dejiang touched the jade box that he kept near his chest. Inside it was an ice hard fruit. He had exchanged for it using his years of life and death adventures credit. Master Liu. The guards at the door revealed looks of delight. A servant immediately rushed over to report. Young master, miss. The 2 masters are back. Meng Dejiang and Liu Yebai entered the residence together. It was currently noon. Meng Chuan and Liu Qia were having lunch. They were pleasantly surprised to see their fathers returning. Dad, you're finally back. It's been almost half a year since you left. Liu Qia ran over and hugged her father, Liu Yebai, with tears in her eyes. I'm back. Liu Yebai smiled as he stroked his daughter's hair. Qia, you've grown taller again. It won't be long before you catch up to me. Dad. Meng Chuan walked towards his father. I've been out of town for some work. I've brought back the lotus fish powder as well. Meng Dejiang's chubby face was full of smiles as he patted the bag on his back and chuckled. Catching the fish, drying it, and then grinding it isn't difficult. It's just time-consuming. Dad, Uncle Liu, I reckon you haven't eaten yet. Come join us. Meng Chuan was in a good mood after his father's return. Yes, let's eat, said Meng Dejiang jovially. When it comes to eating, your dad will be happy, quipped Liu Yabai with a smile. You are just a small eater. Look at how skinny you are. Meng Dejiang raised his eyebrows and strode into the hall. On the night of May 11th, Meng Chuan finished fusing his body, mind, and technique, reaching the perfected marrow cleansing realm. On May 12th, Meng Dejiang brought Meng Chuan to the ancestral mansion. Fairy Meng was leisurely eating some snacks as she read a book in her hand. Grand Aunt. Meng Chuan greeted Fairy Meng. You have perfected your marrow cleansing. Fairy Meng nodded in satisfaction. She took out a porcelain bottle and handed it to Meng Chuan. Inside is a drop of Godfiend Jade Marrow liquid. Once you begin cultivating a Godfiend body, you can consume it. You have to consume it within 3 months of cultivating the Godfiend body. Past that, you'll miss the crucial period for forging a Godfiend foundation. Yes. Meng Chuan accepted it solemnly. This was something the Meng family had spent nearly all its wealth to exchange for. Which Godfiend body are you planning to cultivate? Asked Fairy Meng. The choice of a Godfiend body is of utmost importance. Once you select one, there's no way to change. Even when you become a Godfiend in the future, you'll have to follow the original path. For example, if you choose the Flaming Divine Body, you will only be able to choose Godfiend bodies similar to the Flaming Divine Body when you become a Godfiend in the future. There's no way to change your path, said Fairy Meng. Meng Chuan obviously knew. The Godfiend body cultivated at the mortal shedding realm was the foundation, giving one a portion of Godfiend power. Only by becoming a Godfiend in the future would one possess a complete Godfiend body. There are a lot of Godfiend bodies, said Fairy Meng. There are ones with extremely strong defensive powers. They can even be called indestructible bodies. There are also Godfiend bodies with extremely strong vitality. One can even regrow a severed arm. There are also those with immense strength. There are also extremely fast ones. There are ones that are good at sensing and reconnaissance. Some are good at influencing an area. Every Godfiend body has its traits. And once you've chosen one, you will have to follow this path for life. Our Meng family has all 16 foundational Godfiend body formulas. Fairy Meng asked, you must have read them before, right? I've read through all of them. Meng Chuan nodded. The foundation Godfiend body formulas could only be cultivated before becoming a Godfiend. It wasn't hard for every Godfiend family clan to collect all of them. Which Godfiend body do you plan on cultivating? Asked Fairy Meng. Chapter 22, Meng Dejiang's Hidden Treasure. I'm thinking of choosing the Lightning Divine Body, Meng Chuan said. Before I become a Godfiend, I believe there's nothing wrong with my choice. However, I don't have the confidence to say whether choosing the Lightning Divine Body would be the best idea for when I become a Godfiend. I'd like your guidance, Grand Aunt. He was farsighted. He couldn't just think about immediate benefits, he still needed to think of the future. Oh. Fairy Meng smiled. Tell me, why did you choose the Lightning Divine Body? Meng Dejiang was listening as well. I'm best at speed, Meng Chuan said. Right now, my movement technique and saber arts are the best when it comes to speed. As for the Lightning Divine Body, it's the fastest amongst the 16 Godfiend body foundations. I think cultivation should make up for weaknesses and amplify what's already good. Thus, I chose the Lightning Divine Body. It's to make my movement technique and saber arts even faster. The fusion of strengths. Fairy Meng's eyes lit up as she nodded in approval. Although you aren't very old, you are absolutely correct. Mediocrity is taboo when it comes to cultivation. Being mediocre means you can't kill the enemy. You will only be killed by the enemy. Is the Lightning Divine Body suitable after becoming a Godfiend? Pressed Meng Chuan. Fairy Meng sighed. After becoming a Godfiend, the Lightning Divine Body will become even more terrifying. Its advantage is even more astonishing than when you were a mortal. The body transforms into lightning, and the speed of lightning is excellent. The killer moves are also terrifying. Even if one can't kill the enemy, one can easily escape. However, the life and death juncture to transition from mortal to god-fiend has greater difficulty compared to ordinary god-fiend bodies. The life and death juncture is even harder. Meng Chuan was puzzled. Lightning bolts will strike you when breaking through the life and death juncture. You will die if you can't withstand them, said Fairy Meng. Therefore, you need a robust foundation to withstand them. The threshold for becoming a god-fiend will also be higher. Of course, Archean Mountain will tell you what realm you need to reach to have complete confidence in becoming a god-fiend. I heard that in Archean Mountain, one has to have full confidence breaking through before they take the plunge. Of course, those who can enter Archean Mountain are extremely talented, said Fairy Meng with a smile. As for us who are lacking in talent, we typically take the gamble with a 60 to 70% chance. After all, if we drag on, we might only have a 40 to 50% chance as we age. It's even possible for our success rate to drop to 20 to 30%. The success rate will just keep dropping. Physical body, quintessential energy, realm, mental fortitude, and mental state. Becoming a god-fiend involved many aspects. Since I'll still be very powerful after becoming a god-fiend, then I'll choose the lightning divine body, said Meng Chuan. All right. Fairy Meng nodded and said with a smile, even if you become a god-fiend in the future, you will have a few types of lightning god-fiend bodies to choose from. These god-fiend bodies also have their pros and cons. If you've sufficiently accumulated power, you can choose the stronger ones. If you haven't accumulated enough strength, you can choose the weaker ones. That way, it will be easier to pass the life and death juncture. Okay. Meng Chuan nodded but did not say anything more. With his personality, he would naturally follow the strongest route. Aim for the skies. No matter what, he had to aim high. If he didn't have the goal to become a powerful expert, how was he to become one? Back at the Mirror Lake Meng Manor. Meng Dejiang and Meng Chuan walked side by side. Chuaner, when do you plan on breaking through? Meng Dejiang asked. Tonight, said Meng Chuan. There's no need to delay. Come with me then. Meng Dejiang led the way. Although Meng Chuan was somewhat puzzled, he still followed his father to the residential building. Boom. When they entered the building, Meng Dejiang pulled a mechanism under the bed. A tunnel immediately appeared. A tunnel. Meng Chuan was surprised. He didn't know that his father was hiding a secret chamber here all these years. Constructing tunnels was actually very normal. For instance, the countryside forts had tunnels and chambers built on a large scale. Even if demons were to storm a fort, the clansmen would hide in the hundreds of tunnels deep beneath. They would pull down thick gates and secure themselves inside. The demons had to find a secret tunnel and pass through all kinds of traps to find the humans inside. However, in the city, there were relatively fewer tunnels built. Boom. Boom. Within this tunnel, 2 other stone doors opened via a mechanism. Then, he arrived at a secret chamber. Chuaner, take a seat first, said Meng Dejiang. Meng Chuan sat down on a mat, puzzled. Meng Dejiang rummaged a densely packed bookshelf for a particular book before flipping it open. Hidden inside the book was a wooden box. Meng Dejiang held the wooden box and sat down cross-legged opposite Meng Chuan. He took out another jade box that he kept close to his chest. Give me the God-Fiend Jade Marrow liquid first, said Meng Dejiang. Meng Chuan took it out and passed it to his father, feeling a little confused. Dong. 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 Meng Dejiang placed the long wooden box, jade box, and the porcelain bottle on the ground. There are a total of 3 natural treasures here. Meng Dejiang first picked up the jade box and opened it. Inside was a nice white fruit that emitted cold air. This is nice hard fruit. You can immediately consume it on the first day you cultivate a God-Fiend body. After closing the jade box, Meng Dejiang pointed at the porcelain bottle. You can consume the God-Fiend Jade Marrow liquid the family gave you on the 3rd day of cultivating a God-Fiend body. This final one. Meng Dejiang looked at the long wooden box and gently opened it. Inside the wooden box was a green plant that suffused with colorful light. The leaves and roots were all complete. This is the legendary astral spirit herb. Its value is several times greater than that drop of Godfiend jade marrow liquid. From the first day of cultivating the Godfiend body, eat a little of it every day. The leaves and roots shouldn't be wasted as well. Finish it all within a month. From today onwards, you will come to this chamber every night to cultivate, said Meng Dejiang. Meng Chuan was stunned. Dad, these 3 treasures. Meng Chuan couldn't believe it. His grandaunt had been heavily injured, which was why she had spent so much of the family's savings on a single drop of the Godfiend jade marrow liquid to groom Meng Chuan. That was already an act of madness. And now, his father took out 2 other precious treasures? One of them was the astral spirit herb, which was worth even more. In terms of value, the astral spirit herb is the most precious. Next is the Godfiend jade marrow liquid. Then, the ice hard fruit, said Meng Dejiang. However, every item here wasn't easily obtained. You must treasure them. Dad, how did all of these come about? This astral spirit herb is even more valuable than something the family spent almost all of its savings on. Meng Chuan asked in disbelief. Don't ask. Meng Dejiang frowned. When it's time for you to know, you will learn of it. Meng Dejiang sighed. Sometimes, it's not good to learn about some things too early. What you need to do is to become stronger. Meng Chuan also found his father a little mysterious. Ice hard fruit, astral spirit herb. Where did they come from? What kind of secret did his father, who usually laughed and ran a restaurant, have? However, since his father felt that he wasn't strong enough, he should cultivate properly. You have to treasure them, said Meng Dejiang. I will, Dad, replied Meng Chuan. That night, Meng Dejiang sat in the room and stared at the hanging painting his wife had drawn. Chuan has grown up. Meng Dejiang looked at the woman in the painting, the woman whom he loved the most in his life. Nian Yuan, I have already given him the astral spirit herb. Don't worry, our child is very outstanding and even has a chance of becoming a god fiend. I raised him very well. He's very outstanding, very filial, and obedient. In the underground chamber, sitting cross-legged on the prayer mat, Meng Chuan began his breakthrough. He directed the quintessential energy in his danshan to enter one acupuncture point after another, all 182 of them according to the necessary pathways. When he was at the final acupuncture point, the 182 points formed a beautiful three-dimensional chart with each acupuncture point a node. This chart was also the core of the lightning divine body. Boom. As soon as the three-dimensional quintessential energy chart took form, lightning began to emanate from it. Bolts of lightning began to flow through the three-dimensional chart, fusing into every single part of his body. Meng Chuan could sense his body transforming as each bolt of lightning flowed through the three-dimensional quintessential energy chart and fused into his body. Chapter 23, Those People, Those Matters. Lightning surged through his body, traveling through the quintessential energy chart and fusing into every acupuncture point in his body. His body began transforming into a lightning divine body. Meng Chuan opened his eyes, picked up the jade box beside him and opened it, then took 2 bites from the ice-hard fruit inside. The ice-cold energy flowed down his throat into his stomach, which then slowly spread to his whole body. His transformation became more obvious after his muscles and bones absorbed the cold energy from the fruit as he fused with the lightning. Next, the astral spirit herb. He opened the wooden box and plucked a leaf and some roots from the intact astral spirit herb. It was about one of 30 portions that he could finish in about a month. His mouth was filled with a refreshing fragrance as he chewed the leaf and roots gently. Then, his mind jolted. A magical sensation surged into his head before slowly transmitting to his whole body, allowing his body to continue strengthening as he transformed. Although he didn't know the origins of the ice-hard fruit and astral spirit herb, the fact that his father, a good-tempered man who always laughed and never complained, had said they weren't easily obtained, and that he had to treasure them, meant that they were extremely difficult to obtain. The prices behind them were probably huge as well. All he could do was not disappoint the hopes they placed on him. For the next month, Meng Chuan trained according to plan and had consumed the drop of Godfiend Jade Marrow liquid. He also finished consuming the Astral Spirit herb. He also spent hours executing the saber drawing stance 8,000 times a day, as well as practicing his movement technique and saber arts. He never stopped cultivating. According to the manual, one was still transforming in the early stages of the Godfiend body as one cultivated. If one were to train a particular aspect diligently, one's body would also be inclined towards transforming in that aspect. It was like a growing sapling. If one exerted pressure on it in a certain direction, it might also begin growing in that direction. The transformation of his Godfiend body was clearly slowing down. One day near the end of June, Meng Chuan ate a watermelon as he sat on the training ground. The first month of my cultivation was meant to be an explosive growth. I also consumed 3 rare treasures. My improvement was astonishingly fast, so fast that it was somewhat inconceivable. The drop in my growth speed is expected. Meng Chuan sighed. My Godfiend foundation is indeed very robust and deep. My body and quintessential energy at the mortal shedding realm's early stage already match those at the perfected mortal shedding realm. One had to know that the early stage mortal shedding realm provided the greatest improvement in the 5 mortal realms. After all, it was the first time cultivating a Godfiend body, allowing them to possess the power of a Godfiend gradually. To be able to match a perfected mortal shedding realm while in the early stage meant that his foundation was terrifyingly robust. Meng Chuan's body and quintessential energy would probably rival those at the seamless realm when he was at the late stage of the mortal shedding realm, even though the breakthrough from the mortal shedding realm to the seamless realm was significant. This situation was something rarely heard of in the entire Eastcom prefecture. Typically, only geniuses from the imperial capital and Archean mountain who had been groomed by ancient Godfiend families would have such a Godfiend foundation. Chuaner, Chuaner. Meng Dejiang's voice came from afar. Dad. Meng Chuan put down the watermelon and wiped his mouth with a towel before running over. Soon, he saw his father Meng Dejiang and a bald, thin elder with a walking stick walking over. Third elder. Meng Chuan jolted to attention. He was most afraid of the third elder amongst the elders of the Meng family. The third elder was a cold, old-fashioned man who treated the younger generation the fiercest. Without a second word, he would swing his walking stick and viciously beat up the younger generation. It wasn't surprising every junior was afraid of him. Chuaner, why aren't you paying your respects to the third elder? Meng Dejiang said. Meng Chuan immediately stepped forward and bowed. Greetings, third elder. Okay. The bald, thin elder looked at Meng Chuan and saw his sweat-soaked clothes. Only then did he nod in satisfaction. You have to put your heart into cultivation. How can you become stronger without enough sweat? Yes, responded Meng Chuan obediently. He had to be obedient when he was facing the third elder. Under no circumstances should he argue with him. If he dared talk back, he would receive a blow from the walking stick. This is a torn page of a saber art that I fortuitously acquired when I was young. You can take a look. The bald, skinny elder took out a piece of black paper that was carefully wrapped and handed it to Meng Dejiang with the wrapping included. However, just the terrifying aura emanating from that piece of black paper when unwrapped shocked both Meng Chuan and Meng Dejiang. A Godfiend legacy. Meng Chuan and his father were incomparably shocked. Godfiend legacies required an extremely powerful Godfiend to pay a massive price to create them. For instance, Fairy Meng, Patriarch Yun, and most Godfiends did not have the qualifications to create a Godfiend legacy. That's too valuable, said Meng Dejiang immediately. Third uncle, we can't accept it. Third elder frowned and said, I gave it to him, so he has to accept it. I wouldn't have given it to Meng Chuan if his perception was insufficient. Since he is our Meng family's only hope now, he has to accept it. Besides, this isn't a complete Godfiend legacy. It's just one of its remnant pages. All right, I'll be returning. Third elder supported himself with his walking stick and turned to leave. At the same time, he coldly said, Little brat, you must make something of yourself. Don't disappoint everyone. Yes, third elder. Meng Chuan held the black torn page wrapped in cloth and was quite touched. Typically, 100,000 taels of silver would be the starting bid at an auction for a remnant page of a God-fiend legacy. Not to mention the fact that it happened to be a saber art. This made it even more valuable. This was something that could only be obtained by chance. To ancient god-fiends, silver was of little significance. No one would exchange a complete god-fiend legacy for mortal items. This remnant god-fiend legacy page should be the third elder's most precious item. He's giving it to you right now, said Meng Dejiang. Yes. Meng Chuan nodded and pulled away the cloth, looking at the saber art page. The black piece of paper recorded the key secrets of the move and the things to take note of when executing it. But as he read it, Meng Chuan gradually immersed himself in it. Huh? Meng Chuan felt as though he had entered a trance. After entering this special mental state, he saw a tall, thin man showcasing this saber art swaying moonfall. The saber was extremely gentle as it streaked across the sky, leaving behind a beautiful arc. It was as though the moon in the sky had been chopped off, setting its descent into motion. It was beautiful and gentle. Meng Chuan jolted awake and escaped the illusion. Chuaner, how is it? Meng Dejiang immediately asked. Meng Chuan stared seriously at the black paper and softly said, "It looks like a gentle and beautiful saber art, but in reality, it's extremely ruthless and vicious." The terrifying aura emanating from the black piece of paper was enough to alarm Meng Chuan. Sinister and vicious? Are you going to cultivate it? Asked Meng Dejiang. Of course, Meng Chuan said rather solemnly. Saber techniques are divided into yin and yang. This technique falls under the extreme softness of yin. This is an extremely beautiful move. It's called swaying moonfall. It really does seem capable of slashing the moon down with a single move. I can sense that the conceptual legacy contained within this torn page can withstand transmitting the legacy 10 or more times before it completely tears apart. I will make good use of these 10 chances and have this move become one of my killer moves, said Meng Chuan. Initially, he had planned on honing the saber drawing stance into his only killing move. But swaying moonfall was simply too perfect. Furthermore, he had more than 10 chances to experience the move. Don't waste the legacy's opportunities, Meng Dejiang reminded him. It's gone once all chances are used up. Before becoming a god fiend, I'll only permit myself to use it 9 times, said Meng Chuan. From that day forth, Meng Chuan added an hour-long afternoon routine to his cultivation. In this hour, he cultivated only one move, swaying moonfall. East Com Prefecture. Within a hidden hall in Jadasun Palace. In the center of the hall was a pool of cold water. The white-robed youth, Yanjin, was currently seated in the lotus position within the pool. Only his chest was exposed above the water. The terrifyingly low temperature caused the white-robed youth's entire body to frost. His hair and brows were covered in frost, and his face was pale. Young master, you've been cultivating for 4 hours today. It's time for you to exit the frost cloud pool, shouted an old servant. Jadasun Palace Lord was watching calmly. I've already reached the mid-stages of the mortal shedding realm. From today onwards, I'll cultivate in the frost cloud pool for 6 hours every day, Yanjin said coldly. Junior brother, overreaching yourself isn't wise. 4 hours is enough for you to cultivate your god-fiend body, said Jadasun Palace Lord. It's still early. Yanjin said coldly, all of you can leave. Jadasun Palace Lord shook his head gently. Let's go. Jadasun Palace Lord led the old servant out, leaving the frosted white-robed youth to continue his arduous cultivation. Many youths were training hard within East Com Prefecture, with Meng Chuan and Yanjin working especially hard. Days passed. During the final month of the year, Mei Yuanzi first went to Wu Prefecture City, then arrived at the distant Archean Mountain region to participate in the entrance examination. In the end, Mei Yuan failed to join Archean Mountain. After failing, he went to Qinyang Pass to serve in the military. When news of this spread to East Com Prefecture, it caused Yun Fuan and the others to gloat secretly. Others sighed. Meng Chuan also felt the pressure. The threshold to enter Archean Mountain was extremely high. He had to work harder and become stronger than Mei Yuanzi to have hope. Support me on 2B Translation Channel. Chapter 24, The Lady Named Red Rain. Winter left. Spring came. In the blink of an eye, Meng Chuan had been in the mortal shedding realm for a year. During one summer evening, the evening wind carried a cool breeze, but it was rather lively in Mirror Lake Dao Academy's courtyard. I'm Zhou Qian. Please give me some pointers, Senior Brother Meng. A youth bowed respectfully. Go ahead. Meng Chuan nodded. Today, he was here to spar with Dean Geu, who had long achieved saber force and also cultivated the swift saber. Meng Chuan would gain inspiration every time he sparred him. Hence, he would come seek guidance every half-month. Although Dean Geu was greedy and petty, he was still very attentive towards his most talented disciple. After sparring with the Dean, he would take an hour to give his juniors pointers. To him, sparring with them was too easy. It could even be considered a form of relaxation. Be careful. The youth, Zhou Qian, suddenly charged forward and launched a series of attacks. As Meng Chuan stood there, his body was strangely blurry. No matter how hard the youth tried to attack, he could not touch the corners of Meng Chuan's clothes. After unleashing all he could muster with the sword, he delivered his final killer move. He stabbed forward 13 times only to miss every time. Zhou Qian was quite talented in the Mirror Lake Dao Academy. According to the lecturers, he was likely to be admitted to Mountain River Pavilion next year. However, the gap between him and Meng Chuan was still too great. Senior Brother Meng is impressive. Now, not a single disciple in the Dao Academy can touch Senior Brother Meng's clothes. They can't even withstand one blow from him. Senior Brother Meng is destined to be a god fiend, the disciples watching by the side said. The prestige enjoyed by every generation's eldest senior brother fluctuated. Meng Chuan was definitely the eldest senior brother with the highest prestige in the Dao Academy over the past few decades. His strength was unimaginable, far exceeding the second top disciple in the Dao Academy. He was also willing to sacrifice his precious cultivation time to guide his juniors occasionally. His family clan's influence was also the highest in the entire prefecture city, but he hadn't bullied others. Many factors caused the juniors to idolize their eldest senior brother. Your last move is the killer move of the sword art known as the 13 consecutive peaks, said Meng Chuan. It's also very clear in the manual that once this sword technique is unleashed, it should be like mountain peaks that are constantly undulating and as one. You have accomplished the undulating, but you have yet to achieve as one. Your sword slashes were a scattered mess, which decreases its might significantly. As one. Zhou Qian murmured. He seemed to have an idea but was still short of something. He trusted Senior Brother Meng's advice. In terms of techniques and moves, even the lecturers had said that only Dean Geu could top Senior Brother Meng in all of Mirror Lake Dao Academy. Senior Brother Meng's guidance was more direct than the lecturers. As a disciple who hadn't been admitted into the Mountain River Pavilion, Zhou Qian had no right to have the dean teach him one-on-one. Your other sword moves aren't bad. Only the flaws of your killer move are more obvious. Go and practice this move more. Once you master it, you will attain greater mastery of this sword art. Meng Chuan's gaze swept across his juniors, which were filled with anticipation. He smiled and said, "It's getting late. Go have dinner, everyone." With that said, he left. The juniors also understood that Senior Brother Meng's guidance session had ended. Many of his fellow disciples walked towards the Dao Academy entrance. Huh? When Meng Chuan reached the entrance, he saw a figure dressed in red robes, Lu Qia. She had grown taller and was no shorter than Meng Chuan. Ah Chuan, Lu Qia shouted immediately. Qia, you're 1 year younger than me, but you're almost my height. Lu Qia laughed and said, "My dad said that girls enter puberty earlier. Besides, I've also stepped into the mortal shedding realm. That accelerates my body's growth." Lu Qia, who was 15 this year, had also broken through to the mortal shedding realm this month. However, her archery was still stuck at a bottleneck. Attaining the Unity Realm was just too difficult. Let's go. Let's hurry to Cloud River Restaurant for dinner, said Lucio immediately. You lost to me? All right, let's go. Meng Chuan nodded helplessly. He had lost a bet. After Lucio broke through to the mortal shedding realm, Meng Chuan had claimed that Kyo couldn't touch him even if she fired 100 arrows while he stood within a circle 10 feet in diameter. Lucio refused to believe him. Meng Chuan was filled with confidence. Having honed his movement technique with arrow volleys, especially when such a movement technique was coupled with his powerful lightning divine body foundation. However, a mortal shedding realm sharpshooter was difficult to deal with when they unleashed their full power. Arrows containing a god fiend's power, together with archery techniques, were simply nightmares. It was far more terrifying than the guards who just fired arrows normally. Using his movement technique, Meng Chuan dodged 79 arrows in a row, but the 80th arrow hit his clothes. He lost. Meng Chuan remained rather happy despite losing and decided to try again a few days later. Cloud River Restaurant was the #1 restaurant in East Com Prefecture. It was a bit extravagant to bring her here, but this was a restaurant his father ran. He didn't need to pay when eating there. The youth, Zhou Qian, watched Meng Chuan and Lucio leave. Senior brother Meng entered the Mountain River Pavilion at the age of 13. I have to enter it by 15. He secretly made up his mind and walked in another direction, returning home. Zhou Manor. Young master. Young master. Zhou Qian returned home and the servants were all very respectful. The Zhou family was originally a very ordinary family in East Com Prefecture. Later on, Zhou Qian's father, Zhou He, made a name for himself. He was quite skilled and managed to build a social network with comrades from the battlefield. After 20 years, he managed to establish a family business. He could be considered a rather famous tycoon in East Com Prefecture. Young Master Zhou, young Master Zhou. Suddenly, a child appeared from a corner. Ironborn. Zhou Qian looked over and smiled. Why are you here? Ironborn was the younger brother of his maidservant, and he often came to the manor. The servants in the manor liked this obedient child. Young Master Zhou. Ironborn immediately knelt. Save my sister. Save my sister. Your sister? What happened to Red Rain? Zhou Qian immediately asked. Just a moment ago, Boss Wei brought men to my house. He said my father owed him 300 taels of silver. My father said that he had only borrowed 10 taels of silver. He was half drunk back then, and it was Boss Wei who deliberately tricked him. He made him print his palm on a promissory note stating 100 taels of silver, Ironborn said immediately. Now, the interest has caused his debt to rise to 300 taels of silver. How can our family afford it? Boss Wei forcefully abducted my sister to repay the debt. My father refused, so they beat him up. Did your father sign an indenture contract regarding Red Rain? Zhou Qian pressed. No. My father said that he wouldn't harm my sister even at the cost of his life, Ironborn said. All right, if you don't sign an indenture contract, they're kidnapping a lady. Zhou Qian suppressed his anger. They still had to learn the laws of the Imperial Court in the Mirror Lake Dao Academy. Who is this Boss Wei? My father said that he's a lackey of the Black Wolf Gang. Anybody who comes under the banner of the Black Wolf Gang strikes fear in others, said Ironborn immediately. I want to see how bold a mere hooligan is. Zhou Qian could no longer hold himself back. Lead the way. Bring me to this Boss Wei. Stop right there, a cold voice shouted. Zhou Qian was stunned. He turned around and saw his father, Zhou He, standing there. Dad. Zhou Qian softened the moment he saw his father. Send Ironborn out. Zhou He ordered his servants, and the servants immediately led the child outside. Ironborn cried and shouted, Young Master Zhou, you must save my sister. She will be finished if you don't save her. But the servants easily grabbed the child and quickly brought him out. Dad. That ruffian is engaging in abduction. Are we not going to do something about it? Zhou Qian said anxiously. Fool, Zhou, he said coldly. Do you think a lackey will dare to commit abduction? He's working for someone more powerful. He helps the Black Wolf Gang abduct women and trains them before finally sending them to the brothels. This is the Black Wolf Gang's business. The Black Wolf Gang is one of the 3 biggest gangs in East Com Prefecture. Behind it is the Godfiend family, the Bai family. The Black Wolf Gang is the one who helps the Bai family do its dirty work. Your father is just a small businessman. How can I offend the Black Wolf Gang? Zhou, he looked at his son. The Black Wolf Gang can crush our Zhou family like an ant. Do you understand? I. Zhou Qian felt terrible. But Red Rain had been serving him since he was 8. They had a deep relationship. Do you want to save Red Rain or protect the Zhou family? Zhou, he said, me, your mother, your brother, and over 100 people survived thanks to the Zhou family. We can't afford this fight. Can't we discuss with the Black Wolf Gang and buy her back? Zhou Qian asked. Buy? Zhou, he sneered. Didn't you hear? A debt of 300 taels of silver, and you want the Black Wolf Gang to break the rules? You need at least 1,000 taels of silver to have any hope for negotiation. Is a maid worth 1,000 taels? It's worth it, Zhou Qian said. 1,000 taels? Do you know that I nearly died just to earn my first 1,000 taels of silver? Zhou, he shot a cold glance at his son before turning to leave. You decide for yourself. Don't disappoint me. After Zhou he left, he ordered the guard leader. Go, keep an eye on the young master. Break his legs if he dares to leave. Yes, the leader of the guards replied obediently. Moments later. Ironborn was in despair outside the Zhou family's residence. The world was huge, and he had no idea how he could save his sister. Sister! Ironborn cried. Swoosh! A figure leaped across the wall and quickly ran over to Ironborn. Young Master Zhou. Ironborn was delighted to see Zhou Qian. Go to Cloud River Restaurant and find young Master Meng Chuan. He is young Master Meng, and the Black Wolf Gang is nothing in front of him. He will definitely save Red Rain, Zhou Qian said immediately. Cloud River Restaurant, young Master Meng Chuan. Ironborn's eyes lit up. Go, be quick, Zhou Qian urged. Ironborn quickly ran off into the distance. At this moment, the leader of the guards leaped over the wall and saw Zhou Qian. He gently shook his head. Young Master, you've really disappointed Master. Didn't he let me make my own decision? Why? Are you here to catch me? Zhou Qian said through gritted teeth. Master said that I'm to break your legs, but you should go to him personally. Perhaps his heart will soften and spare you, the guard captain said. There's no need for me to do it. There's no need. I won't be able to escape in front of you. Zhou Qian didn't say anything and returned to the manor. However, his mind was on Cloud River Restaurant. Senior brother Meng, you must save Red Rain. You must save her. In Zhou Qian's opinion, it was very difficult for him to save Red Rain. But for senior brother Meng, it was nothing. Chapter 25, Yanjin takes action. On the second floor of Cloud River Restaurant. Meng Chuan and Lu Qiu found a table by the window and sat down. The waiters of the restaurant had already served them warmly. They naturally knew their boss's son. Ah Chuan, look over there, Lu Qiu whispered. Meng Chuan turned to look. On the second floor of the bustling restaurant sat an expressionless white-robed youth. Beside him was an old servant. It's him. Meng Chuan recognized him. It was the young man named Yanjin from the Jadasun Palace. Yanjin was a very mysterious man, and commoners in East Com Prefecture had virtually never heard of him. However, all 5 Godfiend clans, the imperial government, and the other upper echelons of East Com Prefecture paid close attention to this peerless genius whose talent was in no way inferior to Meng Chuan's. Additionally, his status was far superior since Jadasun Palace Lord backed him. Yanjin noticed that someone was looking at him and glanced at Meng Chuan. Meng Chuan smiled as he raised his wine glass and gestured from afar. But Yanjin turned his head, he couldn't be bothered. How rude. Lu Qiu saw this and whispered, "Ah Chuan, ignore him." It's just his nature, said Meng Chuan with a smile. Last year at the demon-slaying meet, Yanjin had only said one sentence to him that he wasn't taking advantage of him. He understood the other party's personality since then. You just have a good temper. Lu Qiu picked up a large piece of soy sauce pork ribs. Your restaurant's soy sauce pork ribs are better than the ones outside. I drool every time I smell it. This dish is all mine. Don't worry. Nobody will snatch it from you. Meng Chuan teased. Why aren't you fat when you can eat so much? Lu Qiu raised her brows smugly and continued eating happily. Just as they were eating, a voice suddenly rang out. Young Master Meng Chuan. Young Master Meng Chuan. Please save my sister. A child's voice suddenly came from downstairs, filled with anxiety and determination. A child from an ordinary family truly required a great amount of courage to shout in Eastcom Prefecture's best restaurant. Meng Chuan immediately ordered a waiter on the second floor upon hearing the child's voice and words. Bring that child up here. Yes, young master. The waiter quickly left. Soon. Wearing ordinary clothes, a dirty-looking child came to the second floor. The child felt somewhat nervous when he arrived at Meng Chuan's table and saw the luxurious interior. Little guy, you're looking for me? Meng Chuan smiled at the child. When Ironborn saw the scion in front of him smiling at him, he calmed down. He immediately knelt and kowtowed. Greetings, young Master Meng. I'm Ironborn. Please save my sister. What happened? Get up and tell me. Only then did the child stand up. My sister's name is Red Rain. She's a maid of a large family clan, Ironborn said. She's very good. Every time she comes back, she will bring delicious food back for me. But today, when she returned, she was abducted by Boss Wei. The white-robed youth, Yanjin, who was at another table, naturally could clearly hear what the child had said with his mortal shedding realm prowess. He quietly drank and listened, but his gaze turned colder. Why did they kidnap your sister? Meng Chuan inquired. They said they wanted to take my sister as payment for a debt, said Ironborn. They said that my father owed them 300 taels of silver. However, father said that he only borrowed 10 taels. At the time, he was half drunk and in the middle of the night. He was tricked into printing his palm on a promissory note stating 100 taels of silver. The debt grew, and it has now become 300 taels. Upon hearing this, Meng Chuan nodded. It was common for this to happen to commoners. These were indeed the deceitful things the local ruffians did, but they couldn't be stopped. This was because those who hadn't reached the marrow-cleansing realm were not qualified to serve in the army. Without serving in the military, they were destined never to stand out. The hooligans were gluttonous and lazy, happy when they were imprisoned due to free prison food. Did your father sign an indenture contract for his daughter? Pressed Meng Chuan. No, he didn't. My father refused to sign, the child said hurriedly. Oh? A local hooligan dares to abduct. Meng Chuan was shocked. Hooligans usually did minor crimes, they didn't have the guts to commit serious crimes. This was because the imperial court's punishment for serious crimes was very severe. The punishment for abduction was the dismemberment of limbs and hard labor. The death penalty was normal if they went too far. There had to be a reason they dared to commit such crimes. What's Boss Wei's name? Where does he live? Meng Chuan asked again. What background does he have? I've only heard that his name is Wei Sandeo. He lives at East Willow River. My father said that Boss Wei is a member of the Black Wolf Gang, the child said hurriedly. Meng Chuan nodded. Black Wolf Gang? No wonder. With that said, Meng Chuan waved his hand into the distance. Young master. A young man ran over. There's a lackey of Black Wolf Gang called Wei Sandeo. It should be an alias. He lives in the area around East Willow River. Bring him here, ordered Meng Chuan. Get a supervisor from the Black Wolf Gang to come over. Yes, the young man said respectfully. The white-robed youth, Yanjin, suddenly appeared in front of the child. Little guy, lead the way. I'll save your sister now, Yanjin said calmly. Ironborn was taken aback. Time is of the essence. If we are too late, your sister might be dead, Yanjin said coldly. Lead the way. All right, all right. Ironborn became even more worried about his sister when he heard that. Chuan, let's go take a look as well. Lu Qiu was eager to see the development. Meng Chuan was somewhat surprised that this mysterious youth Yanjin abhorred evil. He nodded and said, all right, let's make the trip. I'll lead the way. Seeing the mysterious white-robed scion and young master Meng follow him, the child grew even more excited. The old servant came to Yanjin's side and whispered, young master, there's no need for us to bother about this. Heed my commands. Yanjin's voice was a little cold. The old servant was taken aback and immediately followed without any fuss. Yanjin was the most passionate. He got the old servant to carry the child and let the child point out the way. They ran at an extremely fast speed. It looks like we don't need to interfere in this matter anymore. Meng Chuan and Lu Qiu followed behind. Chuan, I always feel that Yanjin's temper is a little strange, Lu Qiu said in a low voice. He's cold, but he's willing to save someone he doesn't know. You might say that he hates evil, but he's been in East Com Prefecture for at least a year, and yet, I've never heard of him being chivalrous. He has a strange temper, but he can be considered a good person, said Meng Chuan with a smile. Soon. They had come to the East Willow River. Boss Wei is there. Ironborn pointed excitedly. That one. Clang. The gate to the courtyard was pushed open. Yanjin and his servant went in first, while Meng Chuan and Lu Qiu followed. At that moment, 3 men reeking in alcohol walked out from the main house of the courtyard. The leader of the group was a burly man with his top bare. He held a chicken drumstick in one hand as he walked out, cursing. Who dares to come to my house and act so insolently? Where did you get the guts, young Master Meng? The moment Boss Wei came out, he saw 3 youths, an old man, and a child. Boss Wei immediately recognized Meng Chuan. The famous figure in East Com Prefecture, one who had the potential to become a god fiend, the Meng family's scion. Meng Chuan was simply too famous. As for the local ruffians, they knew quite a bit about the important people in East Com Prefecture. They also knew not to offend them. Meng Chuan was someone this lackey of the gang clearly had to look up to. Even their gang leader had to lower his head and not show any disrespect. As long as the Meng family was willing, the Black Wolf Gang could be wiped out in one night. You abducted his sister, asked Yanjin. Boss Wei glanced at the child and immediately recognized Ironborn. I was just following orders. Boss Wei immediately said obsequiously, but his sister is no longer with me. The old servant took out a token and held it up. This is Jadasun Palace's token. Bring this child's sister back now. If you can't find her, you will be executed. Jadasun Palace token. When Boss Wei saw the 2 words Jadasun on it, his legs couldn't help but go limp. In the East Com Prefecture, the 5 God-Fiend clans were not to be trifled with. But there was something even more terrifying: Jadasun Palace. The Meng family and Jadasun Palace? Boss Wei's legs trembled, and his mind went blank. Chapter 26, The Women from Idle Stone Garden. And the 2 of them. The child in the old servant's arms pointed at the 2 other drunkards. They were there when Boss Wei led his men to abduct my sister. It has nothing to do with us. We just run errands. The 2 drunkards didn't dare make a sound. After being pointed out by Ironborn, they immediately explained in panic. Yanjin frowned and shouted, where is his sister? This. Boss Wei and his 2 subordinates exchanged looks and began to hesitate. The rules of the gang were stringent. If we don't find her, all three of you will die, Yanjin said coldly. We'll talk. She has been sent to Idle Stone Garden, Big Boss Wei and the others hurriedly said. Idle Stone Garden was one of the 6 major strongholds the Black Wolf Gang specially used to train women. It was located in the northern sector of East Com Prefecture. Woof. Woof. The sky was already dark, and dog barks could be heard occasionally from Idle Stone Garden. Clearly, the compound had guards patrolling it. The Boss Wei trio led the way. Yan Jin, Meng Chuan, and the others also arrived. This compound is Idle Stone Garden. There are usually more than 100 women here. They will be trained. If they have the ability, they will be sent to various upscale brothels. If they can't handle it, they will send them to some whorehouses, Boss Wei said with a fawning smile. Ah Chuan, that's interesting. I've seen a few upscale brothels in East Com Prefecture from afar. I've never seen the place where they train the women. Lu Qia was especially excited. I've long heard that some pitiful women have been abducted here. Now, we're going to save them. We can't let any of those evil Black Wolf Gang members off. I'm not going to let off anyone who does evil, answered Meng Chuan. Quick, open the door. It's me, Wei. Boss Wei slammed on the door and shouted. The doors of Idle Stone Garden opened. The old servant took the initiative to step forward. With a flick of his hand, the 2 indolent gatekeepers were sent flying. When they struck a wooden pillar or the ground, they vomited blood. An attack. Men. Who is so bold? How dare they come to our Black Wolf Gang's territory and behave atrociously? There was a commotion, and people from all over the compound rushed over. Yan Jin, Meng Chuan, and the others waited at the front yard. Boss Wei and company stood to the side cautiously with their heads bowed. On one side was Jadasun Palace and the Meng family, and on the other was their gang. They were afraid of both. Very quickly, a group of men appeared. Some of them had quite strong auras and possessed strength at the marrow cleansing realm. The leader of the group was an elderly man in a colorful robe who had reached the mortal shedding realm. Young Master Meng. The colorful robed elder's face had a cold expression, but upon seeing Meng Chuan, his face immediately bloomed like a flower. To think that young Master Meng would come to my humble abode. I'm truly blessed. Young Master Meng, how may I help you? Young Master Meng, please speak your mind. I heard that you abducted women. Meng Chuan asked. No, absolutely not. The colorful robed elder said hurriedly, our Black Wolf Gang has always followed the law to a T. Why would we do something like that? Meng Chuan pointed at Boss Wei and the others who had their heads lowered. They said so. The elder glanced at Boss Wei and the others coldly. Guardian, this is young Master Meng. That person is from Jadasun Palace. We didn't have a choice either, said Boss Wei with a bitter expression. Jadasun Palace. Only now did the old man take notice of Yanjin and the old servant. The old servant took out the Jadasun Palace token and revealed it. The elder's heart skipped a beat. The Jadasun Palace has servants and soldiers. But those who can hold the Jadasun Palace's token are all from the upper echelons. There aren't more than 10 of them. Who are these 2? Why haven't I heard of them? This child's elder sister was sent here about 2 hours ago by Wei Sandao, said Meng Chuan. Wei Sandao just sent someone here. The elder turned his head and shouted while blinking slightly at his subordinate. The subordinate immediately said, it seems so. I'll go find her and bring her here. Hurry up, the elder barked. The subordinate immediately ran off. The elder turned his head and smiled at Meng Chuan and company. He immediately said, Lord of Jadasun Palace and young Master Meng, don't worry. Our Black Wolf Gang is very well behaved. We definitely don't abduct women. You still refuse to admit it. Yanjin's voice was cold as he swept his gaze across the compound. His sister was abducted, and there are more than 100 women in this compound. I'm sure many were abducted here against their will. Absolutely not, the elderly man said. 7 women are living in that building. Take them all out, instructed the old servant. Yes, right away. The elder nodded and gestured to his subordinates. However, he was secretly shocked. How impressive. He knows that 7 women are living inside from hundreds of feet away. Soon, 7 women came out. Some looked like young maidens, while others were in their 20s or 30s. Did you willingly come here, or were you abducted? Yanjin said solemnly, just tell me, don't be afraid. We are from the Jadasun Palace, and this is a scion of the Meng family. The Black Wolf Gang cannot threaten you. You can take revenge if you have a grudge against them. As long as these people violated the law, none of them will escape. Those who violate the laws will not be able to escape, said Meng Chuan. This is my promise to you. The elder's eyes narrowed when he heard that. The subordinates behind him looked at each other. Of the 7 women, one of the older ones laughed self-deprecatingly. Young masters, all of you have been busy for nothing. All of us sisters came to this place of debauchery because we have nowhere to go. For example, I was abandoned by my husband. I had no place to live, no place to eat, and I was bullied. Only by coming here will I be able to eat to my heart's content and shelter myself from the elements. Speaking of which, the Black Wolf Gang gave me a way out. Yanjin, Meng Chuan, and Lu Qia were stunned. It was different from what they had imagined. Another woman also said, Young masters, I escaped from disaster and came here. There was nowhere to go, and I was on the brink of starvation. Can you understand what it feels like? It's useless begging anyone. I was so thin from starvation that I had to sell my body and be despised by everyone. It was the Black Wolf Gang who picked me out from a group of beggars and gave me a way out. My father sold me to repay his debt, and it can be considered as me repaying his kindness for raising me, a girl said coldly. As long as I earn money in the brothels and pay off my debt, I can regain my freedom and have some money to live the rest of my life. It's great here. We have pretty clothes to wear. We have sisters to have fun with. There's good food, and we don't need to work hard. A girl with a baby face smiled brightly. Why do we need saving? There was a hidden tunnel in this compound. At the end of the tunnel was a hidden hall. In the underground hall, a hunchbacked man was seated in a lotus position. A faint green fog covered his entire body, and his eyes were filled with a terrifying green light. There was another female corpse to his side. There was a hole in the female corpse's chest, and it was clear that her heart had been dug out. Chi. 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 The hunchbacked man's long right fingernails held a heart. However, the heart was now very dry. Phew. Whoosh. Green mist entered the hunchbacked man's body from his nose before he spat it out after some time. Knock. 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 A series of knocking sounded from outside. Oh. The hunchbacked man's expression changed slightly as he said coldly, What is it? How dare his subordinates disturb him when he was cultivating? My lord, there are a few young men and a woman outside, as well as an old man. They are from Jadasun Palace, and among them is Meng Chuan from the Meng family. They say they are here to rescue a child's sister, the person outside the hall said softly. Then return the child's sister to them, said the hunchbacked man with a frown. I'm at a critical point in my cultivation. There's no need to provoke the 5 God-fiend clans or Jadasun Palace. What if they want to search the entire idol stone garden? I'm afraid some secrets will be uncovered, said the person outside the hall. Forbid them from searching. The hunchbacked man said calmly. If you really can't stop them, we're destined to be exposed. Kill them and give up on this place. That will be a warning to the 5 God-fiend family clans and Jadasun Palace. Yes, the person outside the hall replied respectfully. The hunchbacked man looked at the female corpse on the ground and said in a low voice, I really can't bear to give up such a good place for cultivation that provides me virgins often. Support me on https://buymeacoffee.com/2b translations